Check. It says I'm live. I think I'm live. I'm just wanting to jump right into this. It took me a lot longer to get started than I thought it would. Okay, hit your like button, please. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please just sub up if you don't mind. And share this video live with somebody that you think would be interested in hearing word for word the affidavit of Barry Morphew's arrest back in 2021. And we don't know if I don't know if this is the same affidavit that was used with this more recent arrest, but it is so rock solid, even 4 years ago, even before they had her remains and were able to test her bones and find the animal tranquilizer in her bones. Annabise, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting, my dear. I said noon. I'm just a smidge late. How are you today? Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And Anna B says, I've been watching to see your notification. See, I'm so glad that I did not pre-plan it since I'm so far behind. I was hoping to go live at about noon is what I told you, and it's nearly 3. I'm just always happy that I can get onto my lives. It's a busy, busy day, but here we are. And let me see if I can do this. I have a new stand. That's part of the problem of what kept me behind schedule is trying to move things around. Okay, so we're just going to jump right into this. Is page 57 of 131. So it's a 129 page document, 131 pages altogether, 129 of the affidavit, 131 on the document. So let's just start where we left off with Laura and Ann Richardson. I'm happy to have you on your live. Oh, you were so sweet. Thank you, honey, for being here. And how are you all recovered? I'm like almost all recovered to my thing, but I'm just going to start reading. You can respond. On December 1st, 2020, Special Agent Grushing and Special Agent Harris interviewed Laura and Andrew Richardson at their Salida residence. What in the heck? Laura met Suzanne through church in 2018 and heard Suzanne was battling cancer. She approached Suzanne and offered to be her friend since Suzanne was new to Colorado, away from her friends and family. That is so sweet. I love the way these friends like hit on each other. Like Suzanne hit on the massage therapist, and then this Laura hits on her. I mean, it's really cute. Just girlfriends, nothing kinky. Laura went to at least 3 cancer treatments with Suzanne. That's super nice. As Laura and Suzanne got to know each other, Suzanne shared that Barry chose to go to work over going with her to cancer treatments. As Suzanne began to feel better, she was more fiery, and she traveled out of state without Barry to see her father. When the Richardsons went to the Morphew house for the second dinner, Barry announced that Redacted was a virgin. Oh my goodness. And there are no other virgins at Western State. Yeah, I'm sure she was. That's what her dad wanted to think. That's just so gross. What a disgusting freak. This is what I mean, Anna Bees. I don't think it was you that asked, but this is what I mean when I say inappropriate alliance. Like, he need not be talking about that, El Disgusto father, sick person that you are. Okay. There are no other virgins at Western State. The statement was odd to Andrew and Laura for multiple reasons and seemed more like a declaration than conversation. Yeah, social skills 101. I think he flunked. On May 1st, 2020, Laura and Susie celebrated Suzanne's birthday at Laura's house. Suzanne was very healthy and positive as she showed them her mountain bike and talked about Redacted receiving an award at school. She spoke about doing the financial books for Barry and how that would serve as a bridge between them. Yeah, money, money, money. Mr. Krabs. Suzanne also started training online to become certified as an athletic trainer. She was coming out of cancer treatment and felt like she had a second chance at life. Andrew said he and Laura responded to the scene where Suzanne's bike was recovered on May 10th after Redacted called Laura at about 9 p.m. Andrew and Laura stood with Barry on the road for 4 hours while law enforcement, along with search and rescue, searched for Suzanne. Oh, I'm very curious what that was like. Andrew told agents that Barry was silent for most of their time on the road, regardless of the suggestions Andrew made. Andrew told Barry they should explore the tracks around the bike or go down to the area where Suzanne's bike was recovered to see if they could see anything. Andrew wanted to search, look around, and ask questions to figure out what happened to Suzanne, but Barry was not interested. Barry looked at Andrew and said, "You're a really good man." Andrew did not know why Barry said that in context of their situation. Andrew described Barry's expression as stone-faced throughout the evening. Andrew said the bike positioning in relation to the road made no sense for an accident to have occurred because the rider would have needed to make a 90-degree turn from the road to head downhill. Barry told Andrew he made the trip from Denver to Salida in an hour and 15 minutes or some similar ridiculous amount of time once he thought Suzanne was missing. I think it's a 3-hour trip. He's so gross. I know. As quote unquote good looking as he was, he is so gross. He looks like the freaking devil, in my humble opinion. Let's see. Andrew did not understand why Barry waited that long until that night to come back if he thought Suzanne was on a bike ride that morning. Andrew helped with the searches for Suzanne, which Andrew described as disorganized. Barry and his friend George searched by themselves. Barry was gone all day, every day, and left his girls at the house. Barry tracked a mountain line for an entire day across Highway 50, but he did not find anything. On the third or fourth night after Suzanne went missing, Barry had been complaining about law enforcement's focus being solely on him. Andrew went to speak with a friend of his who lives nearby and is a defense attorney. The attorney listened to Andrew and he gave Andrew his business card to give to Barry. He told Andrew that Barry needed to take the polygraph test so law enforcement could focus somewhere else. Andrew took the card and gave it to Barry, explaining his conversation with the attorney. Barry was excited to get the card and grateful for Andrew's referral. However, when Andrew told Barry the attorney recommended that he take the polygraph, Barry looked at Andrew and said, "I don't think I'd pass a polygraph," end quote. Andrew waited in uncomfortable silence for a few moments to allow Barry to qualify his statement. Let me just interject here. That's the best thing you can do is just wait in an uncomfortable silence and let the other party fill in the open airspace. Like, don't try to help them out in the awkwardness in a situation like that. That's brilliant. And I always have to remind myself of that. Note to self. Andrew told agents he got chills from Barry's response and thought Barry's reaction was very strange. When Barry said nothing else, Andrew awkwardly told him he had to go, and he left. Andrew waited until the present date to tell law enforcement about the encounter with Barry because he did not know if it meant anything to the investigation. Barry has since told Andrew that he spoke with the attorney a few times and the attorney has been helpful. On December 8th, 2020, Laura said that Barry called her on December 4th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. and they spoke for 10 minutes. Barry and his girls were angry with Sheila, having a hard time with her, and do not want to talk with her. Barry told Laura he does not know why Sheila is doing this. That was a telling response. Yeah, totally. He said words to the effect of Suzanne's not dead. She's coming back. Here, let me highlight that one. So excited when I have my cursor. Barry thus did not know why Sheila felt she needed to remember Suzanne or grieve. Laura was shocked by these words, but did not ask Barry why he thought Suzanne is alive. Matt Craig. John Matthew Matt Craig of Noblesville, Indiana, was interviewed by Special Agent Grushing and Special Agent Harris. Matt explained that Barry sold BLM Landscaping Services, LLC, and Sunset Tree Farms to Matt, his brother Dan, Greg, and Hank King. Matt's father signed as a guarantor for the purchase of the business, which occurred on January 12th, 2018, when they paid Barry $189,000. And let me just say, that money goes fast when you're moving across country and purchasing a house that's way over $1 million. So again, it sounds like a lot of money, but I know from experience how fast that money goes over a cross-country move. If you don't have an employer paying for your cross-country move, which neither of them did, or military or something. Barry told Matt that he was making $200,000 to $300,000 per year, and that the client list in his phone alone was worth the investment. Just gotta laugh, because I'm going to bet you that's gross, not net, but we'll see. After paying the initial $189,000, Matt and the others agreed to pay Barry $50,000 per year over the next 4 years, due on August 1st of each year. They paid $50,000 to Barry in August 2019 and $50,000 in August 2020. The amount of the house, yeah, that's very crazy. Yeah, the house was so expensive. So expensive. I mean, there's a lot of property too. I'm not sure the acreage, but a big, beautiful house with a ton of acreage. I believe, like, probably at least 15, maybe, but I could be wrong. We'll see if it says in here. I don't know that I've ever seen that in print, but it seems like maybe I did 5 years ago. Matt told agents that Barry's business was probably worth $20,000 instead of the $389,000 they paid. Ouch. Barry used his relationships through the church and his supposed good reputation to fool Matt and his family into buying a worthless business. Oh, that's so sad. Matt's father refused to allow Matt and the others to hire an attorney and sue Barry because he did not believe in lawsuits. His father felt it was his fault for agreeing to be the guarantor and planned to pay off the debt. Yeah, I didn't believe in lawsuits either until I had to sue somebody. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be the litigious type, and you don't want to support that whole crazy world, but you got to do what you got to do. They should have sued his arse. Don't you think, Annabes? Oh, that would have made him go even more insane, even more quickly. Barry sold his BLM business once before to Seth Pickett and Kyle Cambray, though he called the business BLM Landscaping LLC and left out services from the business name. Ouch. Matt found out after he bought the business from Barry that Pickett and Cambray also figured out BLM was worthless, and they refused to pay him the rest of the money they supposedly owed Barry in 2015 or 2016. Matt said he would have stopped paying also, except his father was the guarantor. What a snake. We already knew that. Ted Turner. On October 27th, 2020, Special Agent Grushing and Special Agent Harris interviewed Ted Turner in Noblesville, Indiana. Turner explained he and Barry raised deer for hunting purposes, selling the deer for $5,000 to $7,000 so hunters could release the deer and hunt them for their horns. He added the deer are normally released in acres that are fenced, and thus the chance to shoot the deer is guaranteed. Sometimes the people who bought the deer would act as guides and charge wealthy people who were willing to pay $15,000 to $20,000 to hunt a deer and get a guaranteed set of horns. These idiots, morons. Yeah. When See, that is so terrible to stalk deer. I know. I never knew that there was such a thing. Am I just really ignorant, Anna Bees? Like when I read this the other night and saw that he was a deer farmer in Indiana, I was like, what? Deer farmer? That's disgusting. Deer are such, I don't know, delicate creatures. I mean, I know they can have fleas and nasty ticks and stuff. I've never heard this. Yeah. I'm going to just try to keep powering through because we got so much to go through. Thank you so much for your comments. I'll keep looking up to see, because also that's good for my vision so my eyes don't bug out, keeping them focused so close. Deer are plentiful and free here. There is no farming. Same here in Ohio. And yeah, when you see them, they're so graceful. That's the word I was looking for. They're just kind of elegant and graceful. I know that they can be disease ridden. Oh my God, I saw 2 little baby deer by my house 2 days ago that were like literally not even 18 inches tall. They were like miniature. They were absolutely precious. I've never seen any that small. They almost look like puppies because of their build, the way their proportions were. Anyway. Let's keep reading. These idiot rich people. When agents asked Turner how those who purchased the deer transported them off his property, he stated they brought a trailer, usually a horse trailer. The purchaser most often used a tranquilizer dart on the deer because herding them into the trailer is difficult. Purchasers like Barry had their own tranquilizer darts and guns for such purposes. When the interview was concluding, Turner remarked, "Barry would slit my throat." The babies are so cute. I know, I'd never seen any so tiny. So tiny. You know, they were kind of like stocky almost, the way babies can be. But usually baby deer are pretty elegant and dainty and graceful too. They're just like small, bigger deer in their proportions. These were obviously super young. Barry would slit my throat, quote unquote, if he knew Turner was talking to the FBI. Turner refused to elaborate on why he made such a statement, but said all the deer farmers talked to each other and they all knew what Barry was doing. Excuse me. George Wimmer. On February 16th, 2020, Special Agent Harris and Special Agent Grushing interviewed George Wimmer by phone. Wimmer explained that he first met Barry in 1998 or 1999 when he went to work for Barry at Salisbury Brothers. Barry was the foreman and Wimmer was a manager. Following those years, Wimmer went to work for a friend for a year and a half. He then came back around 2004 and Barry was starting his own business. Wimmer did not have much further contact with Barry. Wimmer lost contact with Barry and found out years later he was selling his business to a young man named Kyle and another guy. Wimmer told Kyle to be careful because he had seen a lot of Barry deals go south. Not very shocking, huh? Kyle and his friend became defensive. Wimmer told them, "You are dealing with the devil." Following this conversation, Barry blew up Wimmer's phone. Wimmer eventually answered and Barry vented at him for warning the boys. Wimmer described Barry as shady, not on the straight and narrow, doing a lot of deals under the table, working in cash, and hiring a lot of illegals. Barry told people that his dad dying affected him so badly that he could not run his own business. Barry was not planting trees at the proper depth, either too shallow or too deep. He knew that he had to adjust the trees or they would die, but he was too focused on making money and moving on to the next job. Barry planted rows of trees incorrectly, and hurriedly they died. That's symbolic, huh? Reminds me a little T. Oh, Annabees. He was a huge little T supporter. Another Trumpster fire. Let's call him a bumpster fire since it starts with a B. Wimmer learned Suzanne was missing. He Googled Barry and read about all that was going on with her disappearance. Wimmer was intrigued by it and saw the Tyson Draper video. It's the first Tyson Draper mention here. I was wondering where it was interjected. After Wimmer watched, he concluded Barry is guilty for sure. So yeah, when I scanned this the other night, I was looking for Tyson Draper and didn't see it. But like I said, I was cross-eyed by the time I was half done with it in one sitting, 131 pages. It was insane. Like I literally made myself sick. I got to be careful not to do that today. I was good yesterday. I was fine. Let's see. Okay, he concluded Barry is guilty for sure. I just got to reread that part. Wimmer said that Barry thinks he is a really good liar, and he is not. Barry is the kind of person that will just stand there and tell you something you know damn well is not true, end quote. Wimmer would often just listen and not contradict because he just did not want the conflict with Barry. Yeah, and he'll just keep talking himself in circles anyway, even if he's contradicting himself in the same sentence, talking out of both sides of his mouth. I know, I've dealt with people like him. They don't stop. You catch them in one line, they have 20,000 more, and then you have to catch them in each one of those, and each one is 20,000, and exponentially the gaslighting sets the world on fire. Wimmer sent Barry a series of texts on September 23rd, 2020, accusing Barry of killing Suzanne and telling Barry he would rot in hell. Good for Wimmer. Holly Wilson. From October 2020 through December 2020, Holly Wilson recorded her phone and in-person conversations with Barry, providing those recordings to Special Agent Grushing. Holly and her husband, Jeff Wilson, knew Barry and Suzanne well through their church in Indiana. During these recordings, Barry told Holly words to the effect, "You are Suzanne to me," end quote. He held her hand while in the car, gave her a kiss goodnight, and told her Suzanne would approve of whatever would happen in their relationship, and twice touched Holly's breasts, pretending like the touches were accidents when her husband's head was turned away or not looking. This guy is worse than a junior high school perv. Gross. Like, that is extreme. I wasn't expecting the husband to be standing right there. She should have just punched him. Just my opinion. Barry told Holly that he had an ex-FBI guy working for him, and sometimes saying he had a PI, private investigator, working for him who charged him over $50,000. Once Barry told Holly and Jeff that he may have found where someone was holding Suzanne and asked Jeff to come to Colorado to cut the guy's balls off. Wait a second. So he was trying to get Jeff isolated in Colorado so he could cut Jeff's balls off, in my opinion. Okay. Insanity. And did I do this? Cut the guy's balls off, end quote. Wow. Footnote number 56, Barry would not specify if these people were the same. He is a predator. 100,000%. The following is a brief summary of the pertinent quotes from the recordings of Barry and Holly. November 5th, 2020. When Barry was asked if he had thoughts of what happened to Suzanne, he responded that he had two ideas. Barry stated, one, somebody took her right where the bike was, they threw her in the car, or she got in willingly, whatever, and ran off, end quote. Barry added, or somebody chased her and she's in the river, and she's still in the river now today, somewhere in a log jam, end quote. Wow. Barry said he did not see anything else, adding the FBI was telling him that, quote, she left on her own. They were trying to tell me that she left, end quote. Barry said she did not leave. He knew she would not do that. Like, seriously, like, this guy has a problem with the rejection, is what it really boils down to with a lot of domestic violence. Holly asked Barry, that's funny, like Holly Berry, if this guy was able to go through the list of people Suzanne was Facebook friend requesting. He replied he had not spoken to him about it. Let me read this again. Barry did not see anything else, adding the FBI was telling him that, quote, she left on her own. They were trying to tell me that she left, end quote. Barry said she did not leave. He knew she would not do that. Holly asked Barry if his guy was able to go through the list of people whom Suzanne was Facebook, quote, friend requesting. He replied he had not spoken to him about it. Holly wondered out loud if someone else hacked into Suzanne's Facebook. Excuse me. Holly said it was unlike Suzanne to send out a lot of requests, asserting, quote, if I had to bet, I'd say it wasn't her, end quote. Barry said, quote, yeah, she wasn't like that, end quote. Barry was asked about the last thing he said to Suzanne. He replied, quote, I don't even know. It was just a normal night. We just ate dinner together and just had a quiet evening like we unintelligible do, end quote. Holly's spouse asked Barry what someone would do with Suzanne if that person took her. Barry responded that the person would keep her in a basement. Holly challenged Barry that someone would hold onto her for 6 months. Barry said, quote, and if that's the case, then she's underwater, end quote. He added, quote, because there's no evidence of anything else that surfaced, end quote. December 5th, 2020. Holly talked to Barry on FaceTime, and he said, I've been talking to the detectives and the FBI guy regularly now. Let's see. Holly talked to Barry on FaceTime, and he said, quote, I've been talking to the detectives and the FBI guy regularly now, end quote. He added, quote, they seem to be on my side, finally, and helping me kind of feel better about things because of what they're telling me, end quote. Barry thinks they have Suzanne's phone, he said, quote, they found it by the bike, or they found it on the search, or they found it in the house. They won't tell me. They won't even tell me they have it, but I'm pretty sure they have her phone, end quote. Barry said, quote, my guy knows I had nothing to do with it. He's already said he's proven that with his investigation, end quote. Holly asked what the private investigator is waiting for, then in talking to the detectives. Let me take a drink of coffee real quick. Barry replied, I think because they've been on different pages for so long, and he told me that, and everybody's told me that 80% of the time it's the spouse, end quote. Barry asserted the FBI told him they never give the house and cars back, and yet they gave Barry his house and cars. Barry said he told them, quote, I think I know why you did, because you found no evidence, because there's no evidence. It doesn't exist, end quote. December 17th, 2020 in downtown Salida. Barry, quote, I don't know if she was what she was doing, putting in her body behind my back, but all I did was work or hunt, and she had idle time. Idle hands are the devil's tools. She had 21 years of doing absolutely nothing but being a mom, end quote. What a prick. Hardest job in the world, being a mom. Give me an effing break. In my opinion, going to work is like a vacation from the slavery of motherhood. As much as it is rewarding, it is hard. Holly later said that Suzanne going to Al-Anon helped her detach from Barry. Barry said, quote, let's go. I can't hear it, end quote. He stood up immediately and walked out of the restaurant. Holly said that Barry could never describe what his last image of Suzanne was to her. Barry, quote, well, I'll tell you right now, we had sex that night and she was naked when I went to sleep. So she obviously got up and put her pajamas on. And when I left in the next morning, she was laying right there in bed. I didn't pull up the covers and look what she was wearing, if that's what you're asking me, end quote. What a weirdo. Barry, quote, and it upsets me that women have to have their little secrets behind their husband's back when I'm her best friend, and it pisses me off. It pisses me off that if my wife went behind my back and said that shit about me, end quote. He continued, that's the problem with money. I'm sorry, that's the problem with women. They get their little things going between each other and they have no respect for their husbands, end quote. Barry later said, quote, well, she said I cheated on her. Holly confirmed Suzanne told her the same. Barry said, quote, but I didn't, end quote. Barry later said, quote, I mean, if I would have done one thing wrong, I would be in jail right now, end quote. Barry said, quote, what you guys had in your little private conversations had nothing to do with the situation that we're in unless she left on her own. And if that's the case, then I'm sure she'll surface someday for her daughters. But I don't believe that's the case. I truly believe that her disappearance was out of anyone's hands but God's. And God allowed that to happen for some reason, and we might never know until we get to heaven, end quote. It's like he's justifying taking her life like it was God's punishment for her having an affair. Sure, Barry. I can't believe that she was even with this monster. I know, the poor girl. She was so tricked by his movie star good looks, which my mother was too with my father. But yeah, I think she just deluded herself for so long. I think he did a pretty good job of putting on a mask too. I remember seeing a photograph of him with a Bible open in his face on Christmas morning. He's just sitting there in the living room pretending like he's reading the Bible. And I think she put up a Facebook post with it that said something like, you know, my perfect husband or something to that effect. I mean, anyone who uses the Bible as a prop is quite the opposite. Where was I? Him justifying his actions as God's will. Holly said if she had told Barry before Suzanne's disappearance that Suzanne was detaching from him, he would have reacted in the same defensive way. Barry said, quote, no, I would have sat my wife down and had a heart-to-heart talk about it. He, end quote. He adds he would have not been upset. Barry later said, quote, "And I was afraid that talking to the FBI, and when we talked about this situation and they said she could have left on her own, I said," quotes within the quotes, "the only reason she would leave is because she wouldn't have me hounding her about her problems," end quote, within the quote, "and she was free to drink, free to drug, and all that," end quote. Section 6, Barry's interviews with the FBI in 2021. This is good, isn't it, Annabes? I don't think he's attractive. I don't either. I definitely don't think he's attractive either, but I think that most women seeing a photograph of him, not knowing anything about him, would be like, ooh la la, or seeing him in person. Especially when he flashes the big wads of money, you know? I mean, women love that. And a lot of women love a cocky jackass mofo. You know, the whole like bad boy thing. Annabee says, yes, it's good. I'm going to highlight the I don't think he's attractive. No, he's so disgusting. I mean, he exudes the monstrous aspects of his personality, in my opinion, all the time. This section includes summaries of audio and video recorded interviews by the FBI of Barry after he was informed of Suzanne's affair. I don't like cocky a-holes. Well, good for you, Annabes. I don't either, but I used to when I was younger, and they got together when they were teenagers. So if I had married the guy that I was dating back then, I'd probably be deceased like Suzanne. Honestly. Okay, January 27th, 2021. In this interview, Barry stated numerous times he had no idea of the affair, and he asked multiple times to know who her lover was. He initially guessed her lover lived in Arizona, where he was telling Suzanne he wanted to go on Friday, May 8th, and said that maybe Suzanne's disappearance was a form of God's judgment for the affair. Special Agent Grushing and Special Agent Harris met with Barry at his condo in Poncha Springs, Colorado, to inform him of the affair. Upon meeting Barry as he was walking behind his house and telling him agents needed to speak with him privately, he said, "Okay, I'm working right now." He said, quote, "Okay, I'm working right now. Can I get your number?" End quote. I'm sorry, I have to laugh and I have to read that again. Upon meeting Barry as he was walking behind his house and telling him agents needed to speak with him privately, he said, quote, "Okay, I'm working right now. Can I get your number?" End quote. He's got some audacity. He eventually agreed to speak with agents. After being informed Suzanne had an affair, Barry asked who the person was and how long the affair had been going on. I just got to interject here. Oh my goodness, so glad you didn't. I know, me too. Dodged that bullet. That first love, it was had nothing to do with love. It was more like an addiction. Anyway, this so the agents are trying to speak with him privately, and he's like, "I'm working right now. Can I get your number?" As if your spouse is missing, and the agents are like, "Hey, we need to talk to you." You'd be like, What? Okay, I'll drop everything. What is it? How can I help? What do you know? What can you tell me? After being informed Suzanne had an affair, Barry asked who the person was and how long the affair had been going on. He then said, this is a complete surprise to me. I have no idea of this and would never suspect her of doing this, end quote. I have had no idea of this and would never suspect her of doing this, end quote. He later said, quote, "Because I never seen it on her phone. How was she?" End quote. I love the way he talks. "Because I never seen it on her phone." S.A. Grushing asked if Barry remembered her handing him her phone in Mexico. that he was trying to see who she was talking to. Barry said, quote, yeah, wasn't in her phone, Snapchat, end quote. Barry said, quote, I can assure you I had no idea there was another man, end quote. Yeah, until you found out and then did what you did the day before Mother's Day. Maybe. Allegedly, in my humble conspiracy theory. Okay. Barry said, quote, I had no idea they were communicating. And if you guys are trying to tell me that I found out about this and did something, that's completely wrong, end quote. That's hilarious because that's exactly what happened. Oh, again, telling on himself. I bet you're right. Yeah, and he just said it right there, Annabise. Just said it right there. Like he suspected it for a while, it sounds like, but then he found out because he snuck up on her when she was sunbathing and saw exactly what she was doing, in my opinion. Special Agent Grushing said that Suzanne's and her lover's communication stopped Saturday afternoon. Barry said, quote, well, I was with Suzanne. I came home to have lunch, went into town to get the blade on my Bobcat fixed. And I had the wrong timeline on that. So if she was talking to this individual, it had to be when I came into Salida, end quote. There's a good quote, Annabise. I already put this 131 page document link in the description. And just to let you know where I'm at the bottom of page 60 of 129. Actually, I'm more like in the middle, I think, towards the bottom. Where okay, right there. And this is so telling. I want to read this again. Barry said, quote, well, I was with Suzanne. I came home to have lunch, went into town to get the blade on my Bobcat fixed. And I had the wrong timeline on that. So if she was talking to this individual, it had to be when I came into Salida, end quote. So I'm betting that he already buried her and then he took the blade on the Bobcat to get fixed. I could be wrong. Maybe he got it fixed before he buried her so that he could bury her. That's possible. I think he had a walk-in freezer in his house or garage for the game that he hunted. I'm pretty sure he had a walk-in freezer he could have put her in. Sorry, trigger warning right there. I'm glad because I just missed what you said. MFs with the ads. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Annabise. Let's see. Well, I'm glad that I read it too because that was pretty key, huh? I almost want to read it one more time, and I will. Quote, well, I was with Suzanne. I came home to have lunch, went into town to get the blade on my Bobcat fixed, and I had the wrong timeline on that. So if she was talking to this individual, it had to be when I came into Salida, end quote. Special Agent Harris told Barry that Suzanne was communicating with the individual on some occasions while Barry was in the house. Barry asked, quote, where is this guy from? Arizona, end quote. Special Agent Grushing told Barry hundreds of communications existed between Suzanne and this person, especially on Saturday before Barry came back home just before 3:00. Barry asked, quote, can you tell me how many months it's been going on? End quote. Interesting that he asks how many months it's been going on because it could have been weeks, it could have been years, but he specifically, instead of being more open-ended, like, can you tell me how long this has been going on? How many months? That's telling. Again, he already knew. Lying liars telling themselves every time. See, just in the questions that they ask, they don't realize how much information they're putting forth. Special Agent Grushing said Barry could probably answer that himself. They always say in the text exactly what I just said, so I should quit commenting, huh? Just power through it. Yes, he was telling on himself again. And the Special Agent Grushing, or Grussing, it's Gursing. Just say Special Agent G, maybe. So much easier than trying to say these last names that I've never heard, so I don't know how to enunciate them, how to pronounce them. But yeah, very confrontational. Special Agent G said Barry could probably answer that himself. Barry said, "Oh, hey, baby, come here. Come here. Come here, baby. Come here, G. Come here. Come here, little girl. Puppy break. Come here, little pumpkin. Come here. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, come here. Oh, there's a little pumpkin. There's a little baby." All the puppies got fed breakfast twice this morning. It was their lucky day. They try to trick us into doing that every day, and today it worked. So there'll be lots of poopins going on, right? Let's see. This is Chi. She's a Cocker Spaniel for anyone who hasn't met her before. And yeah, Anna Bees, you probably remember her from when she was really small. Oh, she's just so cute. She just looks like a little monkey lemur, as far as I'm concerned, that face. And her bell-bottom legs with the long fur kind of remind me of Gumby. But yeah, she looks a lot like Lady from Lady and the Tramp. Oh my goodness, she's such a cutie pie. Let's see if she'll just sit in my lap while I read. She might. She's a cuddler, that's for sure. Let's see. Okay. I like her bell bottom legs. That's one of my favorite things. Yeah. I agree. There's some different last names in this. Yeah. I know. Last names are hard because there's so many unique ones that you've never seen or heard before. Okay. Barry said, quote, "Well, I can't answer that on the way she treated me because she didn't treat me like she wanted to leave me," end quote. Special Agent G told Barry about the recording pen and the conversation when Barry asked Suzanne to tell him if she loved him, and she could not answer that she loved him. Barry was asked again if he remembered that. Barry was shaking his head side to side to signal no, as he replied, quote, "Yeah, I remember," end quote. Barry began to cry audibly. So he says, "Yeah, I remember," as he's shaking his head, no. And then the fake alligator tears. Here's a picture of the Barry monster. Let's see if I can get it at an angle where you can see it. It's just a photograph of him with like a winter cap and sunglasses. But like normal, he just looks like the freaking devil. Like he normally does. His normal look, demonic. Barry stated, quote, "She's always been insecure because she didn't have a father. He left." Oh, right. The Gene Mormon was her stepdad. She didn't have a father. He left, was a drunk. When we were dating, insecure that I'm cheating, I'm having an affair. When we're married and I got a secretary that I'm having an affair with her. You can go back through my whole entire life. I've never even touched, let alone talked or text to another woman besides my wife. You'll never find that, end quote. Man, what a bald-faced liar. I think Gene Mormon is her stepdad. Anyway, it's just been so long since I've gone over this case. Barry asked to guess who Suzanne's lover was and said, quote, "It's either David Huff or Kevin Stout. Am I right?" End quote. Agents did not confirm, and Barry began to talk about Suzanne possibly being in the river. Special Agent G asked, "The river from an accident or an abduction?" End quote. Barry said, quote, "Either one. I don't think the way I see it, was an accident and she ran from somebody to the river." End quote. Interesting how he says she ran from somebody since he was chasing her, right? He just looks like an abuser. Yeah, he looks so miserable. So miserable. He continued, quote, "If she got in the river and hit a rock with her head from that could have been a possibility, or they could have grabbed her at the river and took her up," end quote. Like being sold down the river. Barry was asked if he found out something about Suzanne on Saturday or if someone else was involved. Barry shook his head and said, quote, "There's nothing that I found out Saturday about her having an affair. Nothing." And it's funny because they didn't ask if he found out something about an affair. They left it open ended, asked if he found out something. Another very clever way to phrase your questions in an investigation is always leave them wide open ended, and people will fill in the blank because they think that they hear things that they're not hearing. So, like, for instance, Barry thought that they were asking about an affair and he just inserted it there. Special Agent G asked if he found out Friday or Saturday if she was having an affair. Barry said, quote, "I told you, I've already told you this. This is the first day that I found out she had an affair. I researched the lady. She's an angel. She's a saint. This just blows my mind, and it's going to blow anybody's mind to find this out," end quote. The part "I researched the lady," does he mean stalked? I think he means stalked. He added, quote, "And as soon as they find out, they're going to say," quote, within the quote, "Old hothead Barry found out and killed his wife," end quote, within the quote, and end the quote completely. Isn't that funny? Again, telling on himself. Hothead Barry found out and killed his wife. That's exactly what happened, huh? So there's another photo of him where he's looking pretty weathered, but it's like from the same outfit, sunglasses, and the winter hat. Special Agent G told Barry about the May 6th text wherein Suzanne said, quote, "I'm done. Let's just handle this civilly," end quote. Barry was working and his responses were that, quote, "Life is not worth living," quote, and going to meet my savior," end quote, and, quote, "Life is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity," end quote. So those three things were his response texts to her saying, "I'm done. Let's just handle this civilly. Life was not worth living. Going to meet my savior. Life is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity." And that was 3 days prior, May 6th. Barry said, quote, "Yeah, and I was just trying to hurt her. That's all I was doing. I would never have killed myself with my daughters," end quote. But you'd do that to their mother. Special Agent G told Barry that investigators noted Suzanne did not tell Barry to commit suicide. Barry said, quote, "I know. Well, it makes perfect sense now why. Back then, it didn't to me. I would want her to say, 'No, don't hurt yourself, blah, blah, blah,' end quote. But yeah, it didn't come," end quote. Don't hurt yourself, blah, blah, blah. The eternity in hell. Yeah. Telling on himself again. That's exactly what happened. Yep. Barry said, quote, I appreciate it, but I want you to know that I've been a Christian my whole entire life. I accepted the Lord. I love the Lord, and he knows why this happened, and I got to trust him. I have to trust that he did this for a reason, end quote. See, he thinks God willing is why this happened, that God allowed it to happen. Um, he added, quote, I'm telling ya, I had no idea of this until today, but looking at everything right now, things are making a little bit more sense to me from God's point of view, because I would never understand why God could take away my wife after I fought 2 battles of cancer with her, had 2 miracle babies that we shouldn't have had, and had a wonderful life together, end quote. Barry continued, quote, I can promise you that I knew none of this until today, end quote. Barry said, quote, she never talked Saturday to me about leaving. I mean, did you find communication between her and I Saturday about that? Because to me, Saturday was a good day. We had a good evening together Saturday. Friday, we had an argument on the phone. Friday, I'm sure you've seen that. Special Agent Grushing told Barry that for some reason it seems he was placing Wednesday as Friday. Interesting. Barry said, oh, so let me read that last paragraph again. Barry said, quote, she never talked Saturday to me about leaving. I mean, did you find communication between her and I Saturday about that? Because to me, Saturday was a good day. We had a good evening together. Friday, we had an argument on the phone. Friday, I'm sure you've seen that, end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that for some reason it seems he is placing Wednesday as Friday. Barry said, oh. Special Agent G reminded Barry that it was Wednesday when Suzanne said she, quote, was done, end quote. Barry said, quote, okay, then that was Wednesday, not Friday. Friday, she would go through these times where we would fight like that, and then everything would be back to normal. And it was like nothing ever happened. And we'd go eat dinner. We'd go have we've had sex. Everything would be fine, end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that investigators have a fuller picture of his actions in Broomfield. Again, this is a year later. This is in 2021. Barry said, quote, I told to Joe and Derek everything. And Joe's like, quote, within the quote, well, why are you going to 5 different trash cans and throwing all kinds of crap away, end quote. And I said, quote, within the quote, I've done that my whole entire life, end quote. My truck is a mess. I throw things away here and there because I'm a tightwad and I don't want to pay for trash pickup or this or that, or I had time. That day I was going to have more time, spend more time on that wall that day. But when I got to it and realized that my workers were going to come and I could just have them do this stuff and I had time on my hands, end quote. Special Agent G asked Barry about coming home on Saturday after errands and whether he remembered where Suzanne was when he got home. Oh, isn't that a great question? All he does is bring up having sex with her. Annabise, I know, trigger warning. I was going to say something about that. Trigger warning. I think that he had her on that bed in Mallory's room, tranquilized for hours. And I think that he assaulted her more than one time. I think, to use his words, it was a free for all. Don't you agree? So sorry to say it. Again, trigger warning. Nothing can like gear you up for that. I mean, being assaulted like that by your spouse, by the father of your kids. But yeah, and as long as they're having sex, then everything's fine, right? In his mind, that's all that matters. I love this. Special Agent G asked Barry about coming home on Saturday after errands and whether he remembered where Suzanne was when he got home. Barry said, quote, "No, that's so sick, but yes, you're right." Yeah, it was like the grand finale. Because he probably just had decided to off her because he found out that she was cheating on him, that it wasn't an accident. It might not have been planned prior to that day, but it wasn't an accident, in my opinion. Um, Special Agent G asked if she could have been out on the deck. Barry said, quote, "I don't remember," shaking his head side to side before answering. "I do not recall where she was when I got home. I don't even remember going to town and doing that," end quote. The "I don't remember, it's all a dream." You know who was saying, like, "I don't remember, it's all a dream," was Dylan Mortensen in the Idaho 4. It all seems like a dream. Yeah, because it's very surreal when you do shit like that that shouldn't be done, when you're going against nature, when you're going against God. It's very surreal. Um Special Agent G told Barry that investigators have some images to show him. Let me read that again. Barry said, quote, "I don't remember," shaking his head side to side before answering. "I do not recall where she was when I got home. I don't even remember going to town and doing that," end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that investigators have some images to show him. Barry said, quote, "Of that she sent to this guy," end quote. Special Agent G confirmed and said that it might be the last time outside of Barry that she is seen by someone else still alive. Barry said, quote, "I'm telling you right now, there is nothing out of the normal Saturday afternoon. Nothing. It was it's almost like that evening, nothing ever happened to us that week. She's like one person one day, another person the other day. And when she acts like that, I'm going to accept it and take it all in, because when she's distant and cold, I don't get any affection. And Saturday, there was no problems, none. And I don't understand that you're telling me that she's communicating with this guy Saturday all day. I'm working till noon. Come home, eat lunch with her, leave again, and come home and then spend the evening with her, eat supper with her, have sex with her. I can assure you that Saturday night was a good night for us, and I can assure you that we made love that night. And there's no way that she would have done that to me if she's got this head on about this other guy," end quote. Wow. Special Agent G said that Suzanne was disclosing things about their love life to the other guy. Barry said, quote, "Well, I'm sure if she's not disclosing things, are having sex with, quote, her lover," end quote. Barry made air quotes with his hands while saying this, because that would upset him. So she's probably lying to him if she's saying we're not having sex, because we do, and we did. And I can assure you that night, and hold on while I read a footnote real quick. Is this footnote number 657? Barry's story that he had time on his hands after working on the wall contradicts his five trash runs on May 10th, 4 of which occurred before he went to the wall, then finished with his walk across the hotel parking lot. Okay, so I can assure you that night we did 100%. In February, when I went to meet her in Florida, that's all it was sex. Wait a second. These are some long quotes of his as he's getting nailed to the wall. Barry said, quote, well, I'm sure if she's not disclosing things or having sex with her lover, air quotes Barry made with his hands while saying this, because that would upset him. So she's probably lying to him if she's saying we're not having sex, because we do and we did. And I can assure you that night we did 100%. In February, when I went to meet her in Florida, that's all it was sex. I mean, why would she do that to me if she's got this other guy she's leaving me for? This is not, none of this is making sense. End quote. Special Agent G asked what does not make sense to Barry, adding that Barry said earlier things were making sense. Barry said, quote, making sense in God's eyes. Why someone like me, someone like us? Well, now that you told me that she was having an affair, maybe, I don't know, maybe in God's eyes, this was his way of resolving something. I don't know, end quote. Barry stated, quote, that's just why I said it's making sense to me with God's relationship. None of this. I'm telling you that there's nothing that I knew about. I know I had texts where I said, quote, in the quote, yeah, you're having an affair, you have a boyfriend, end quote. I just did that to reciprocate what she was saying to me, end quote. Special Agent G said that Suzanne had on her notes on her phone that Barry accused her of having a boyfriend on May 6th, which is the same day she texted and said they should just do this civilly. Special Agent G asked Barry if he remembered that. Let's see where. That's so sick, but yes, you're right. No, it wasn't an accident. It all is very deliberate. I can say that even with a natural passing away, you feel like nothing is real. Exactly, Anna Bees. Yeah, it's extremely surreal. It's very disorienting. You're so far out of the norm. Um, Sounds exactly like it. Yeah. Um, I think I was right here. Barry said, quote, yeah, I remember that, but I didn't mean it. I was just saying it to get to her, to try to get to her, end quote. Barry talked about striking Suzanne once when he clipped her nose, but that was the only time he was physically abusive. Ooh, right in the face. Special Agent G said that in doing the victimology work on Suzanne, investigators know that that was not the only time she came at Barry, and that when Suzanne got frustrated, she would physically come at Barry. Barry said she physically came at me several times through my life, and I took it. Barry said, quote, she physically came at me several times through my life and I took it. And I'm a man and I'm tough and I can take it. Gotta lie about the scratch marks in front of people when they're on my face. But that is the only time I ever touched her. And I swear to God, I would never lay a hand on my wife. And that was just a crazy reflex, end quote. Special Agent Harris asked Barry what he meant when he said this might be God's way of resolving things. Barry said, quote, this is a long one. Are you ready? This is going to be a big reveal, I'm sure. Fireflies, hello, hello. Nice to see you. Came right into Barry's victim blaming. Ugh. Okay, this is huge. Barry said, quote, I tell you what, I've had a very hard time understanding why God did this, and he allowed it. If you know what you know that he allows bad things to happen. But all that we've been through, and all that we are, I couldn't understand it. And maybe we'll never understand till we get to heaven. But if I would have known this in the beginning, I wouldn't had to suffer for 9 months, not knowing why God did what he did. I'm not saying he did it to punish Suzanne because of her affair, but it makes more sense than what I knew before you guys came today. End quote. Barry said he wanted the news of the affair to be kept between agents and him, adding, quote, and if we can all keep this private between us forever, that's all I would ever want, end quote. Yeah, because he knows that the news of her having an affair would be like the missing piece of the puzzle of why he attacked her that day. And it's insulting to him, right? Fireflies, he is such a narcissistic bastard, rat bastard. Let's see. He is such a narcissistic rat bastard. He is never going to heaven. I thought you were going to say never going to admit it. There was like a thing that popped up, so I couldn't read it for a second. That's funny that I thought you were going to say he's never going to admit it. But I think it was Fireflies that said that yesterday, and I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That you could like show him a videotape of him doing it, and he'd be like, I don't even know who that is. I don't remember any of that. I wasn't there. Like the poltergeist took over. Let's see. Where was I? Yeah, the whole thing about keeping it secret. So January 28th, 2021. In this interview, Barry suggested that Suzanne ran away, discussed with agents her numerous trips to meet her lover, was told by agents that her lover thought the affair led to her homicide, and was told that no body cases could be proven. And here's footnote number 58. Reference the scratches on Barry's left arm on May 13th in CCSO photos. Barry later to the FBI did not recall how he got those, probably from a tree. Yeah, those fingernail scratches, those are from a tree. Yeah. And the bees, how are you? Hope you're all are staying cool. It's melty outside. Yeah, I've been staying inside for the last several days in the nice, cool AC and just doing my indoor yoga instead of gardening or going for walks or anything. Special Agent Harris and Special Agent G attempted to contact Barry Morphew in a construction area behind his residence in Poncha Springs, Colorado. He spoke with agents by cell phone as he walked back and forth in front of the car, about 50 yards away from the vehicle, though agents said they needed to meet with him. Some of the conversations included, wow, there's a photograph here that's so dark. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. There we go. After thinking about what he learned yesterday, Barry suggested that Suzanne ran away. He said, "Can you answer?" He said, quote, "Can you answer that? Can you answer? Could she possibly have staged her bike and gotten a car with somebody? I know that they did a research on all of the vehicles that were in that area. And let me mention, in case you're not aware, in case anyone watching is not aware, that in that area of Colorado, it's very remote and there's some nice vacation houses. And so there are traffic cams all over the place in the rural areas because there's a lot of crime. So that's what they're talking about here. Could she possibly have staged her bike and got in the car with somebody? I know that they did a research on all of the vehicles that were in that area. And I mean, did that clear that, possibility? because she's not a dumb person. She's pretty stinking smart. And if she's thinking of just taking off, that's something that she would think about. I know her. Is that a possibility that she did that? End quote. Special Agent G told Barry that Suzanne sent her lovers photos of herself serving as her last proof of life. Barry stated, quote, well, let me tell you this and see if you can shed some light on this. I told you that in the past year, not the past year, but before this happened, the past year, she had taken 7 trips by herself. Are you guys aware of those? End quote. I have. I thought it said I have never been outside, Annabise. I have not been outside. That's funny. It is horrible. I know. When I open the door to let the dogs in and out, I'm just like, oh my God. And I don't let them stay out too long because I don't want them to fry either. Yeah, we have the house nice and chilly. Okay. Where was I? Are you guys aware of those? End quote. Special Agent G confirmed and Barry replied, quote, and one of them was to Louisiana. Are you aware of that one? End quote. Special Agent G confirmed and Barry replied, quote, and was this individual that she was having an affair with at that location with her? End quote. Special Agent G asked Barry his thought on why he brought up Louisiana. Barry stated, quote, because it would just, when it happened and she said she was going there, it didn't make any sense at all to me. She's like, quote, within the quote, I've always wanted to go, blah, blah, blah. I wonder what he's hiding specifically when he says blah, blah, blah. End quote. And she was going through cancer and I was trying to make her happy, wanted to give her whatever she wanted. But when I was questioning her, it didn't make sense to me why she would want to go there. End quote. Barry asked, quote, so I mean, then that means you guys have evidence that she's not, end quote. Annabise, you're spot on, sis. He's wretched. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't really know how to pick him. I mean, Jeff Liebler seems a little bit nicer, but then he's cheating on his wife and he has 6 kids. And he doesn't go to the authorities right away when he knows damn well that she was probably murdered. Like that's really rotten. Like he's not much better than Barry. He probably was nicer than Barry. Maybe he would not have become physically abusive, but he's making some stupid choices too. She just has trouble picking a decent man. Men not be all bad, but good ones don't come by the score, to quote Joan Armatrading. Ugh. Let's see. Special Agent G stated that FBI uses methods to determine if someone is alive or not. Barry asked, quote, in your systems of investigations, these things, that, or physical evidence? Special Agent G concurred there was little physical evidence, and he told Barry that recently some, quote, no body homicides, end quote, cases have used the FBI to prove someone is not alive. Barry responded, quote, that's very interesting, end quote. So the 59th footnote says Barry admitted to questioning Suzanne about the New Orleans trip to meet Liebler. Further evidence he suspected the affair. Barry asked, quote, was when you approached him, her lover, what was his demeanor, end quote. Special Agent G said he was shell-shocked and very contrite. Special Agent Harris confirmed he was shell-shocked and contrite, adding that the man feels bad about it. Barry asked, quote, feels bad? He feels bad about the affair, end quote. Special Agent G said, quote, he wonders if the affair caused her to disappear and caused her homicide, end quote. Special Agent G added, Susan's lover said, quote, maybe it was my fault. Maybe my relationship with Suzanne caused her to be killed, end quote. Barry was silent for a few seconds. That's very telling, huh? It's all so sad. Yeah, I'm so glad he's in jail. I pray for full justice for beautiful Suzanne. I know, and I've been trying to find more informative videos about the case, and I really can't find any. Everything I find is just people rehashing very little pieces of information. So I'm really glad to be going over this. Like he's getting extradited. We know that. And today is June 25th. Is it Wednesday, I think? It's 4 p.m. Let's see. Barry was silent for a few seconds. Very, very telling. I like that quote. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine Barry silent. LOL. Right. It's really, really telling, isn't it? Because he was speechless. Barry stated, quote, see, now you guys are talking this, you're talking in a way that just, it really bothers me, end quote. Special Agent G asked, quote, why, end quote. Barry said, quote, because I have no evidence of my wife being dead. And you guys are absolutely certain of it. And that's very troubling to me, end quote. Yeah, it is troubling to you because it's going to land your butt in jail for the rest of your life, mofo. Special Agent G said that yesterday Barry said he thought she was under the beaver dam. And Special Agent G does not think that she would have survived down there. I'm sorry to laugh. Quote, I know, but I don't know that for a fact. I said that's my thought after 9 months of nothing from anybody that would seem to make sense why there's no evidence. But I don't know that for a fact. Extradited from Arizona. So he'd been living in Arizona. He was apprehended in Arizona, and then he was going to be extradited to Colorado. So I don't think he's been transported yet, but he might have been. If he was, it was probably just today. Yeah, like living under a dam. So I don't know that saying, but you're making me remember when Trump said the other day that that's water over the dam. Too much water over the dam, when what he meant was water under the bridge. But then he backed it up by saying, yeah, that's a saying, water over the dam. People say that, No, they don't. But yeah, I was like living under a dam. Is that like living under a rock? But, when I think of beavers, you know what I think of? Something in Beaver Dam. Is he just like, pussy galore? Sorry. Trigger warning. And that's just the title of a James Bond movie. That's all. Let's see. And a band. Where was I about the Beaver Dam? I'll just read that part again. Special Agent G said that yesterday Barry said he thought she was under the Beaver Dam, and Special Agent G does not think that she would have survived down there. Quote, I know, but I don't know that for a fact. I said, quote, within the quote, "That's my thought," end quote. After 9 months of nothing from anybody that would seem to make sense, why there's no evidence, but I don't know that for a fact, end quote. Barry later said, quote, let me ask you a question. You guys have bugged my phone. You've heard every conversation that I've had since May 10th. If there was one thing that I said, I mean, you've done this for 25 years. I mean, there's no conversation that I've had with anybody that would make you guys look at me as a suspect, end quote. Special Agent G reminded Barry about the problems he cited earlier with CBI, adding that Barry's statements did not make sense with some of the evidence. Special Agent G told Barry the FBI was, quote, not after him, but just trying to find Suzanne. Barry stated, quote, okay, well, I'm at my meeting. I got to get back and get to work, end quote. Oh, that sucks. So many criminals go to Arizona. Yeah. Well, it's close to Mexico. That's what I'm thinking. You know, people have been like, why would he go to Arizona? And I'm like, short distance to the border, make a break for it. He just wasn't fast enough. Man, like he didn't know when they were coming because it took them so long. He had no idea. He probably thought he was home free. Like, I really wonder why he didn't move to a country where they don't allow extradition. But I'm glad that he did not. Really glad that he did not. And my only guess is finances and his daughters. I mean, not that he loves them, because I don't believe that a person like him is capable of love, but he's got to have people that he can manipulate. And you know what they say about why your parents can push your buttons so well? Because they're the ones that installed them. So he knows how to manipulate those girls better than he knows how to manipulate anybody, probably. So maybe they do still believe him, but I don't know. They are going to be traumatized for the rest of their lives, no doubt. Special Agent G reminded Barry about the problems he cited earlier with CBI, adding that Barry's statements do not make sense with some of the evidence. I already read this, but I'm rereading it. Special Agent G told Barry the FBI was, quote, not after, end quote, him, but just trying to find Suzanne. Barry stated, quote, okay, well, I'm at my meeting. I got to get back and get to work, end quote. I'm glad I reread that because, yeah, we got to remember that was his attitude. Okay, well, quit wasting my time. I got better things to do than talk about my missing wife. Like, make money. Got to make money. February 28th, 2021. In this interview, Barry again asked for the lover's name. He wanted to go get this guy so bad. Gave his code for knowing when people tell ties. Oh, I just thought of something, you guys. What if he wanted to get this guy and put his remains with Suzanne's remains as their just dessert in his eyes? That is like the kind of creepy, over the top creepiness that I think could have been hatching in his pea brain, in his Neanderthal pea brain. In this interview, Barry again asked for the lover's name, gave his code for knowing when people tell lies, discussed his activities on Saturday, May 9th, and significantly changed his earlier accounts to match evidence provided to him, putting a gun in his hand that afternoon when Suzanne was last known to be alive. Holy crap. Are you ready? Make money by swindling someone. Yes. Very true. It's terrible what parents do to their kids, isn't it? I know. There's this one kid. His last name is, it's almost like Polite. I think his first name is Michael Pollitt. And his father not only murdered his mother, but then framed him and allowed him to take the fall. I think that this Michael Pollitt, if I'm getting his name right, spent 20 years in prison, and he was finally exonerated. And I think his dad's in prison now, but 20 years he let his kid rot in jail. And the kid was like 12 or 14 when it happened. I think he even had a friend spending the night. The dad like murdered her in the house and then set her on fire. And then Michael Pollitt, I think I saw like a 2020 or something about it. I'll look for it and try to put a link to it in the description. But yeah, his dad let him serve time. That's a special kind of dark, evil mofo. But I'm guessing that probably that was to get his kid back, because his kid probably wanted to live with his mom instead of his dad during the divorce. I believe that is very possible. This guy, yeah, the thing about throwing them in a grave together, in a pit together. Let's see. Where was I? Putting the gun in his hand that afternoon when Suzanne was last known to be alive. I'm at the bottom of page 66 of 129 of the affidavit for anybody who's interested in following along. OMGGGGG. That is horrible. I never heard of that case. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Michael Pollitt, but it is spelled the same way that polite is spelled. And so he was just exonerated a couple of years ago, part of like the Innocence Project. One of the few cases that you know for sure he's innocent. You know, some of these mofos with the Innocence Project just abuse it, like Amanda Knox, OMG. But that guy, Dean, oh, what is his name? The one in Ohio. I'll think of it later. The one that did 45, it took 45 years for him to get paid, I think. And he got like $45 million. Dean Gillespie. I think that's his name. I think it's Dean Gillespie. I'll put a link to that in the description too. Anyway, back to this. Putting the gun in his hand that afternoon when Suzanne was last known to be alive. Thank you, lying liar, for outing yourself once again. At 1:14 p.m., Special Agent G greeted Barry, and Barry replied, quote, "Hey guys," end quote. Like they're buddies. Hey guys. Oh my God, what a weirdo. Special Agent G told Barry that agents needed to share information with him. Barry stated, quote, "I got a meeting here in about 10 minutes, was going to head for, but how long will it take?" End quote. What a freak, man. I'll show you a picture of the freak. There he is, thinking he's all handsome. He kind of looks like a cockatoo, the way his hair is in this picture. You can kind of see that, Mr. Cockatoo. He looks like a cockatoo in a lot of his pictures, actually. He looks like a lot of things. He's kind of a shapeshifter. Have you guys noticed that? I have, big time. There's some video footage of him and Suzanne at like a pizza restaurant sitting at a table with their friends. It looks like it's probably someone's birthday or something. And the two of them look so estranged, and he literally does not look anything like himself. Like, I seriously had to be convinced. I had to do all kinds of research to convince myself that that was actually him. He looks like a completely different guy. It is wild. Special Agent G told Barry he has first right of refusal to the information. He asked, quote, "Is this about her and the guy?" End quote. Special Agent G said agents would like to discuss the affair, the technology, and other aspects, and that Barry can clear this up. After a few minutes, Barry asked, quote, "Are you able to give me the name of the gentleman?" End quote. So sorry to laugh. Oh my God. He should just like ask every 2 seconds. Can I get his name? Can I get his name? Are you going to tell me his name? A little annoying kid, right? What a whack job. A cockatoo. Yuck. Yeah, he makes me want to throw up in my mouth. I know. And he didn't even touch your breast, Anna Bees, in front of your husband when your husband turned around. OMG. Are you able to give me the name of this gentleman? And to call him a gentleman, that's hilarious. Why doesn't he just say douchebag? Are you able to give me the name of the gentleman? Special Agent G said agents could share more information with Barry, then asked him what giving him the name of the man would do for him. Barry answered, quote, "It's just peace of mind. If it was a friend or an acquaintance, just peace of mind. Wouldn't you want to know if it was your wife?" End quote. Special Agent G said he did not know how he would respond. Barry added, quote, "Yeah, I mean, just to know that wasn't a friend at least," end quote. SAG confirmed, or Special Agent G confirmed, the man was not Barry's friend. First of all, anybody who would do that to you is not your friend, even if you thought they were. All right. Special Agent G responded, "The evidence points towards her not being alive with the facts collected to date, not to determine who was guilty." Let me read that again. And the reason I say special agent instead of SA, because that's what it has typed out, SA, is because for us in the true crime land, that's lingo for a grape, right? SA. And so I just don't want to confuse us by saying SA. So I just keep saying special agent. Special Agent G responded, "The evidence points towards her not being alive with the facts collected to date, not to determine who was guilty." Barry said, quote, and I'm not guilty. There's no doubt that I'm not guilty. I'm just telling you that from what Joe and Derek did to me. I mean, Jim Comey's a liar. And I mean, do you think he's a liar? End quote. It's hilarious how he starts talking about James Comey. Like him and Donnie $2 like this, right? Special Agent G said he did not know if Comey was a liar. And Barry interrupted, quote, "That's ridiculous. How could you not know he's a liar from what he said on the stand in front of the Senate?" End quote. Special Agent G asked what he said. Barry stated, quote, "Well, I don't know exactly what he said word for word, but they asked him questions and he said, quote, I don't recall," end quote, just like Hillary Clinton. All of them freaking liberals don't, quote, recall anything, end quote, when they don't want to tell the truth, end quote. Hilarious, right? Are you guys laughing? LAMAO. Is that what you're doing right now? Type that in if that's what you're doing right now. Did I do the letters right? Laugh my effing arse off. Yeah. I mean, is that so funny that he's like saying, well, when people say they don't recall, they're just not wanting to tell the truth. Oh, you mean like you, Barry? You know this well, don't you? Special Agent G told Barry that agents brought a notebook with evidence they would like to share with him. Barry replied, quote, "Could you answer me some questions first? Was she with him in New Orleans?" End quote. He's just fixated. Like, he just needs to get smacked. He's freaking nuts. He's nuttier than nuts. Yeah, what a joke. "Could you answer me some questions first? Was she with him in New Orleans?" Special Agent G said she was. Barry asked, quote, "And she was with him in Florida," end quote. Special Agent G said she was. After a pause, Barry asked, quote, "In Indiana?" End quote. Special Agent G said she was. Barry asked, quote, "And how long has this been going on?" End quote. Special Agent G said 2 years. So here's a footnote. Number 60. Barry's equating of people saying, quote, I don't recall, end quote, means to him that those people are telling lies, was told back to Barry on April 22nd, 2021, when Barry said, quote, I don't recall, end quote, to most of the critical questions about what happened to Suzanne on Saturday and Sunday, May 9th and 10th. Barry asked, quote, 2 years, end quote. Special Agent G said it started shortly after they moved to Colorado. One sec. Let's see. Thanks so much for being here with me, holding my hand as I walk through this, because it's fairly tedious. So it's really more interesting to me to interact with you, but I do want to power through it as much as I can so that I don't make it less interesting to other people with my talking off topic here. I'd love to see his face after hearing all of those answers. I know. Or when they say things like, oh, you mean like how you were saying, I don't recall. Barry asked, 2 years? Special Agent G said it started shortly after they moved to Colorado. Barry asked, quote, and you can't tell me where they connected the first time, end quote. Special Agent Harris said they connected through social media, and Barry repeated, quote, social media, end quote. Barry said, quote, and the app you said they were using to communicate, there's no way I could have known about that. And what was that called again? End quote. That app? There's no way I knew about that. He just told on himself, huh? Special Agent G said agents did not want to give that to Barry, and he replied, quote, I'm not going to hunt, end quote. Oh, did he just tell on himself yet again? Special Agent G told Barry he was a hunter. I got to read that again. That's just too funny. Special Agent G said agents did not want to give that to Barry, and he replied, quote, I'm not going to go hunt, end quote. Special Agent G told Barry he was a hunter. Barry said, quote, I know, but I need this for I've, end quote. He continued, quote, so just tell me who the guy is. I don't know why can't you answer that? I'm not going to do anything to this guy. It's not like I'm going to kill him or anything. Come on. Again, I'm sorry to laugh. It's like laugh or cry. I'm not going to do anything to this guy. If I can't afford to leave the only parent that my daughter has, if I go beat some guy up and go to jail, I can't afford that. Would I want to? Yeah. Would you? Yeah. Somebody screwing your wife for 2 years behind your back? That's just cold-blooded. I would never do that to a guy, but I'm not going to do that. But for just me, my peace of mind, I'd just like to know who it is. And do you believe me when I say I had no idea this was even happening? End quote. That whole thing is just magnificent. That whole paragraph, let me tell you where it is in case you're curious. It's towards the mid bottom of page 68 of 129 of the affidavit, right above another cockatoo photo. OMG, or page 70 of the 131. I got to read it again. And I'm just going to laugh or cry. Are you ready? I'm ready. Barry said, quote, I know, but I need this for I've, end quote. He continued, quote, so just tell me who the guy is. I don't know why you can't answer that. I'm not going to go do anything to this guy. I can't afford to leave the only parent that my daughter has. If I go beat some guy up and go to jail. I can't afford that. Would I want to? Yeah. Would you? Yeah. Somebody screwing your wife for 2 years behind your back, that's just cold blooded. I would never do that to a guy, but I'm not going to do that. But for my for for just me, my peace of mind, I'd just like to know who it is. And do you believe me when I say I had no idea this was even happening? End quote. Oh, and by the way, okay, Special Agent G said some of the evidence items that agents brought to Showberry would help prove he did not know. Oh, that's funny. Anna B says, it's reminding me of a time a man pulled a gun out at my mom's restaurant, but he didn't do anything. My husband made me go with him to the police station and made me ask for the guy's name and address. That's kind of funny. Oh, wow. What kind of restaurant did your mom own? Let's see. Yeah, a couple of my kids are like way into the culinary arts. It's pretty cool. Kind of 3 of the 4, but especially 2 of the 4. And it's funny. It's like the oldest one is the only one who's not really, I mean, she's a good cook, but she's not like into culinary arts. And then as you go down the line, they get more into like actual culinary art. So the youngest one is just like, she watches those shows constantly and she cooks up all kinds of delicious, inventive food that she finds online. And she's only 13. Mexican American food. Yum. Very yum. Let's see. Barry said, quote, well, I didn't know. I'm telling you right now, I mean, she was the last person in the world I would suspect would do this. But for her to pull this off blows me away, end quote. Well, it's funny because they're saying that they want to show him evidence that they have, that they brought to show him that help prove he didn't know. But then he's trying to hammer home right after they say that, well, I didn't know. I'm telling you right now. I mean, she's the last person in the world I would suspect would do this. But for her to pull this off blows me away. And here is the cockatoo. This is almost exactly like the other cockatoo photo. There he is. There she blows. Okay. Barry stated, quote, did she leave that night because I told Joe and Derek that we had sex and went to bed and I went to sleep and I worked so hard that when I go to sleep, I'm out until 3 o'clock. Special Agent G asked about the hike to the Fooz's Lake, if that happened. Barry said, quote, well, I was confused on the hike too. I thought it was that Saturday, but after talking to Joe and them, it could have been Friday. It could have been Thursday. I remember us doing that, and I thought it was Saturday. So I forgot to do my air quotes. So I'll read that again. And did you hear the thunder in the background? That's so exciting. You know how I love storms. All right. I've been on for almost 2 hours and I'm almost at page 70. I'll see if I can go until roughly page 75, maybe 2.5 hours. So somewhere in there to give you guys guideline of where we're at. And then I'll take a break and then I'll come back on in a couple of hours. But what was I going to say about all of that? Let's just read. Oh, I was going to say something about if the power goes out because of the storm, because that could happen. But my computer probably wouldn't go out. But sometimes the internet can go down too. But yeah, the computer's all charged up because it's been plugged in this whole time. So it wouldn't lose power. But if we lose internet access. So Barry, Special Agent G asked about the hike to Fooz's Lake if that happened. Barry said, quote, well, I was confused on the hike too. I thought it was that Saturday, but after talking to Joe and them, it could have been Friday. It could have been Thursday. I remember us doing that, and I thought it was Saturday, end quote. And then here's a footnote. Number 61, Barry has made at least 13 assertions by his third interview with the FBI, most of them unsolicited, that he had no idea about the affair and asked agents to say they believe him. That is perfect. OMG, there are so many like golden nuggets in this. That is just nuts. This contradicts other statements made to the FBI and his actions in 2019 to find out who Suzanne is talking with and who she is seeing on her trips. All right. I was saying ick to his pick. Yeah. Ick. Ick to his pick. Ick to his other thing too, right? I love storms too. I always like to specify I love storms as long as nobody gets hurt, because people do get hurt quite badly sometimes in storms, or fatally, and that is tragic. But I mean that's what makes them so exciting, is the danger. Oh, and I hated them when I was little. I was scared to death, but I love them now. I'm on a laptop this time. Oh, message redacted. That might have been accidental. Oh, and the puppies are so cute. Little Chi is over there, just a pile of hair. And Coco's here too. Coco gets really freaked out with the thunder and lightning, so we'll see what happens. All right, here we go. I read the footnote. Special Agent, I'm at the top of page 71 of the 131. Special Agent G asked if Barry came home Saturday and went for a hike or a bike ride. Barry said, when I came home, we did lunch then. Barry said, quote, when I came home, we did lunch then, end quote. Special Agent G asked if that was veggie soup, and Barry replied, quote, yeah, lunch, end quote. Special Agent G asked if they hiked after lunch. Barry said, quote, I don't recall. Again, the lying. Because I don't even recall taking my bobcat back to crib. End quote. That is like the quote of the century. I don't recall because I don't recall taking my bobcat back to the crib. I don't recall because I don't even recall taking my bobcat back to the crib. End quote. Special Agent Harris confirmed Barry texted crib that he was at the house and needed a few minutes. Barry said, quote, okay, yeah, and I don't know why. I've got a great memory. I don't know why I don't recall that, end quote. Keeps telling on himself. Special Agent G said Barry called, quote, Tim backhoe, end quote, and Barry said, quote, backhoe attachment for the bobcat, and I looked at that. I don't know if it was that day or what, end quote. Thunderstorms are so cool in Arizona. I bet they are. And then you guys got the flash floods too. Special Agent G told Barry he drove to where the backhoe attachment was, and Barry interjected, quote, looked at it, end quote. Barry said, quote, well, I didn't like it. I looked at it and didn't like it. Yeah, I called him and I told him I wasn't interested, end quote. Barry eventually said he wasn't interested because of the price. Special Agent G explained that Suzanne took her, quote, last proof of life picture, end quote, while Barry was out on this errand, but it was not apparent where she was. Barry said, quote, oh, she had to be at the house because, end quote. That's great that he just cuts himself off. He's like, oh, I better not say that. Oh, she had to be at the house because, was I saying something? Special Agent G said Suzanne's location at the house was unclear and asked Barry if he would look at the picture. Barry said, quote, yeah, and like I said, I'm running really late. I don't have an hour, but let me look at this, end quote. He added, quote, and I would really like for you guys, since I'm being cooperative, trying to help you, that you would give me the name of this guy. OMG. I knew that's where he was going with that, but I thought, nah, that's too obvious. Can you guys freaking believe this douchebag? And I would really like for you guys, since I'm being cooperative trying to help you, that you would give me the name of this guy. That's all I want for peace of mind, end quote. Smack my head against a brick wall. How many more times is he going to ask, do you think? I'd say probably a couple dozen or a couple hundred, couple thousand. Special Agent G told Barry he had not been cleared yet in Suzanne's homicide, citing the evidence in the affair and the other collected evidence, and that some of the evidence is contrary to his statements. Let me drink a little water and see about the puppy dog. Come here, Chi. Come here, baby. Chi, come here, baby. Come here. Come here, cutie. Come here, honey. Come here. Come here, babe. Don't make me get up. Come here, honey. I'll show you guys her before we're done. I'll show her again. She's just being lazy and I don't want to get up. I want to keep reading. Where was I? Barry said, quote, yeah, but it can't contradict my statements. There's just no way. I told Joe word for word, place for place, everywhere I was, end quote. That's too funny. Another golden nugget. Can't contradict my statements. No way. Special Agent G asked Barry about his first statement of setting his alarm for 4:30 in the morning. Barry stated, quote, I don't remember setting the alarm. I might have told him that, end quote. Special Agent G confirmed he told him that. Barry said, quote, but not my phone alarm, the clock alarm, but I set that thing so many times. I mean, maybe I didn't remember, but I know I wanted to get going early. And sometimes when I know I got to get up early, I set the alarm, end quote. See, the thing is he stayed up all night that night. And remember, Morgan Gentile said when she talked to him on the phone that she thought immediately he sounded like he just had the worst night of his life. Very intuitive, huh? So Firefly says he must have caught her having time with Jeff on the phone. Right. Like sexting probably, right? Anna Bees, that's what Jazz said earlier, Fireflies. I agree. Poor Suzanne. Yeah. I just wish she left him without telling him, I mean, most women that are victims of domestic violence know that they need to get out secretly. Like they usually set up a secret plan because they know that the guy will freak out and try to kill him. Let's see. Poor Suzanne, that had to have been terrifying. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she probably got shot in the buttocks with the tranquilizer gun. And then they think that it probably took 5 to 20 minutes to set in. And then she would have started getting like woozy and yeah. I don't even like to think about it. I do remember Morgan saying that. Yeah. I mean, he probably, in this trigger warning, he probably wanted her to know that he was having his way with her after her rejecting him probably numerous times. So he probably started assaulting her once she was incapacitated enough to not be able to resist him, but coherent enough to know what was going on. So that's probably the last thing she remembers, and that's probably the last image that he has of her is when he was assaulting her. What do you want to bet? And that's why he won't ever even try to conjure up something fake. Yeah, I hate Barry. And being chased. Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely chasing her, or the chipmunks. Maybe she was one of the chipmunks, right? Um, let's see. Special Agent G told Barry the FBI knew he was moving well before 4:30. Barry said, quote, I get up, I got an enlarged prostate. I get up and pee and all through the night, end quote. Here is footnote number 62, reference earlier interview with Tim Clow. Barry already knew the price of the backhoe attachment and never told Clow why he did not want to buy it after that Saturday, May 9th. Special Agent G interrupted and told Barry he was outside in his driveway. Barry said, quote, well, if I did anything outside, it wasn't anything wrong, end quote. No, not in your eyes, douchebag. Special Agent G explained Barry's statements do not matter compared to the importance of him seeing the evidence. Barry replied, quote, it doesn't matter. Your evidence does not matter because it's if it's anything to do with tying me up with her disappearance, it's wrong, end quote. Your evidence does not matter. What a narcissist. Special Agent G said the agents are in an auditor role, not determiners of guilt. Barry interrupted, quote, but Johnny, you know that there is nothing on my phone that shows that I knew about her affair. So I think I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to say if I knew about that, then I did something, end quote. Special Agent G later told Barry that Suzanne told Jean Ritter not to come over to have coffee that week. Barry said, quote, see, this is all pointing to her leaving. All of it is. And if she's in Mexico somewhere and she's freaked out or something went wrong, how do we know that? End quote. Barry said he had to go to work, but agreed to see the photo of Suzanne's last proof of life. I think she was the chipmunk. Oh, absolutely, for fireflies. Absolutely. She definitely was the chipmunk. Agreed. So we've all seen Suzanne's last proof of life, right? I don't know if it's gonna. It's a cute photo. Here, it's not gonna change the orientation. But yeah, she's outside sunbathing. So she doesn't have makeup on. Her hair's not done. She looks actually happy, doesn't she? I mean, at least she was happy, had that moment of happiness before the worst happened. Oh, here we go. Now you can get a full view of it. It oriented. Sorry, there. Get a good contrast. Oh, we hate Barry, don't we? And who shoots chipmunks? Anyways, I know. Chipmunks are so cute. Barry looked at the photo and said, quote, well, look at her. She's obviously drunk. Look at her eyes. Do you know what drunk eyes look like? End quote. He added, quote, I mean, would you say those eyes are drunk eyes? End quote. Special Agent G said bloodshot eyes are what he looks for. Barry said, no, it's the lazy eyes is what I see in her, and she drank, end quote. So Barry said, quote, no, it's the lazy eyes is what I see in her, and she drank, cuts himself off, end quote. Special Agent G asked Barry if she was wearing that swimsuit when he came home. He said, quote, she was laying out, end quote. When Special Agent G confirmed, Barry said, quote, yep, end quote. And here we are, the top of page 73 of the 131. And we have yet another cockatoo photo of Barry. Special Agent G asked if this arrival at home was after the blade change with Cribbery. Barry replied, quote, "No, that's from going home after I finished with Morgan for lunch." He was probably having sex with Morgan. Like, sorry, but that's just the kind of guy he is. She was laying out and then we ate lunch, end quote. Barry replied, quote, "No, that's from when going home after I got finished with Morgan for lunch. She was laying out and then we ate lunch," end quote. Just the way he says that, after I got finished with Morgan for lunch, it literally makes me think he was doing Morgan during lunch. I think he gave himself away once again, don't you guys? Yeah. Who shoots the baby chipmunks? They're all so cute. She was laying out and then we ate lunch, end quote. Special Agent G said the photo was taken later that day and he replied, quote, "Then she must have went back out when I left," end quote. Special Agent G asked Barry if Suzanne was still laying out the second time he came back. Barry shook his head and said, "I don't recall that." After a pause, he said, I don't recall. I want to go back. He shook his head and said, "I don't recall that." After a pause, he said, "I don't recall." Oh my goodness, he's a lying cockatoo. And there's the cockatoo. Okay. Special Agent G told Barry that when he arrived that afternoon, his phone went around the house quite a bit. His phone went around the house, quote, "quite a bit," end quote. Barry was nodding his head and saying, "Mm-hmm." Special Agent G asked, quote, "Were you looking for her?" End quote. Barry said, quote, I shoot chipmunks," end quote. Special Agent G asked, quote, "You shoot chipmunks?" end quote. Barry said, "Yeah." Special Agent G said it looks like he was chasing one. Barry said, "Yeah, I was. I've shot 85 chipmunks because they got into my furnace and cost me a bunch of money. So when I'm home," end quote. Special Agent G interrupted and asked if he used a 22, and Barry replied, 22, so when I'm home, I just walk around and shoot them. Just keep going around the house," end quote. Barry made circular motions with his right arm. He said, quote, "Every time I go around the house, I'll see another and I'll shoot it," end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that activity would explain his phone's behavior, adding that he left his driver door open in the garage before he went to the first patio. Oh, so he was like racing there. He was in a panic. Barry said, "Mm-hmm," and said, quote, "Yes, yeah, shooting," while nodding his head, end quote. While nodding his head during the description of movement, he added, quote, "No, I'm shooting chipmunks. I've never done that ever since we've moved in," end quote. Special Agent G asked Barry if he remembered doing it that day. He nodded his head and said, "Mm-hmm, oh yeah." Special Agent G asked Barry what happened next. Again, brilliant open-ended question. Are we ready? Are we ready for the answer? Yes, I wondered why Morgan knew what his hotel room smelled like. Right. Well, he shared his hotel room, I think, with the other guy, with Puckett, with Jeff Puckett, if that was the other guy's name. But Morgan had gone in there because the other guy was having trouble opening his door. But yeah, just because she was good looking and they worked together, I mean, that's the kind of guy he is, grabbing somebody's breast when their husband's right there looking away. That's the kind of guy he is. Do you think he was chasing Suzanne? I definitely do. Yeah. Good question, Anna. Yeah. But Morgan gets very defensive about, like, no, we weren't having an affair. And the fact that she doesn't say something like, he tried and I denied him, because he would have tried. Like, I mean, he's just like a dog in heat. And that's how he dominates. And that's just the way narcissists are. Personality disordered people, they only know how to fight and the other F. And they will try to seduce you, and if that doesn't work, they will try to kill you, basically. That's their only two modus operandi of how to socialize. Socialize, right? Like Trumpster Fire saying how little E enjoyed his social life when he's talking about him banging underage girls. That's not a social life, dude. That's a predator life. That's committing crimes. So let's go on. And this is the brilliant open-ended question. Special Agent G asked Barry what happened next. He shook his head and said, I don't recall. Special Agent G asked about the hiking happening then. Barry stated, it could have been I know there was one in the 2-3 day period where we went to Fooz's, but I don't know. I can't tell you exactly when it was, and I don't recall it, end quote. Special Agent G showed Barry a photo sent by Suzanne to Libler in the morning of May 9th with a series of texts discussing Barry's desire to move to Arizona. When Special Agent G asked if that was her closet, Barry said, yep. The text discussed pizza from the night before, and Barry said, yeah. When the text, quote, he's still wanting Arizona, end quote, was read, Barry asked, quote, who's he? Me? End quote. Special Agent G confirmed. Barry asked, quote, why is she talking to this guy about me and my life? End quote. Special Agent G reminded Barry of him asking agents about Suzanne being in Arizona. If he was suspicious about Suzanne's guy being in Arizona at that point, Barry asked, is this guy from Arizona? I think Tyson Draper's from Arizona, and he probably thought it was Tyson Draper at some point. Barry asked, is this guy from Arizona? Special Agent G answered he was not. Barry asked, quote, can you tell me what state he's from? End quote. OMG, he just doesn't effing stop. He is like a child. They are like apes. Apes are more sophisticated. Underage girls, aka children. Thank you for Fireflies. Yeah, it's terrible when we normalize it, when I normalize it with, because it is so common, but that still doesn't make them not children when they're children. So yes, they are, Anna. Okay. Yep. Kids. Absolutely. Can you tell me what state he's from? Special Agent G said he was from Barry's home state, and Barry replied, Indiana? From my hometown, end quote. Special Agent G said he could not tell Barry that. Special Agent Harris said if anything happened to the guy, agents would be placing Barry in a bad place. Barry interrupted, quote, I understand that. I understand. And nobody knows but you guys, not Chafee, CBI, end quote. Barry was shown a picture of the locations around the Morphew house of Suzanne's phone activity at 4:10 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. on May 5th. I'm sorry, May 10th. That's very important. Why did I say 5th? 4:10 a.m., 4:15 a.m. on May 10th. I almost did it again. 2020. He said, well, he said, quote, well, if she did that, I have no idea that it went anywhere but the house. But if you want to ask me, I'd say it was at the house the whole time, end quote, within the quote and the whole quote. Special Agent G told Barry that agents wanted to complete this with him this evening. He asked, is it gonna be done? End quote. When told it would be done, Barry asked, done? Special Agent G told Barry if he sat down with agents and went through the binder, agents would be done talking to him. Barry asked, but what if I tell you something wrong that was different with Joe and Derek, end quote. Special Agent G and Special Agent Harris explained that Barry was helpful today and that other interviews would be the same. He said, I mean, these things are just, they're not even relevant. Special Agent G said agents have a lot of data and Barry is the one who knows. He said, all right, I'll call you when I get finished, and walked away. February 29th, 2021, while Special Agent G and Special Agent Harris were parked about 1 block away from Barry's condo, Barry drove his truck beside the agent's car at about 5:03 p.m. and handed a weathered 22 caliber altered rifle with a newly mounted rifle scope to agents. Barry said that was the gun he used to shoot the chipmunks, and he had to leave to work out at the gym. The audacity of this man. I can't even call him a man. He's a freaking mouse. And no offense against mice. I love mice. I have to go work out at the gym. What an effing freak. I didn't mean you, Jazz, honey. I just meant people in general. I would never attack you. Oh no, I didn't even take it as an attack. I just took it as a correction. Just I took it as a prompt. So thanks for saying that though. That's sweet. Because yeah, I think I do normalize it sometimes and I catch myself. Okay, March 1st, 2021. In this interview, Barry again significantly altered his prior statements. I gotta love it. I can't stop reading. So I'll try to stop in about 15 minutes. I'll pick up the puppy and sign off in about 15 minutes. Fingers crossed. That means I won't. No, I'm just kidding. That just means I'm going to try. In this interview, Barry again significantly altered his prior statements to adjust to evidence presented to him. He said he turned left on Highway 50 as he left the house on May 10th to see where elk were going, which put him in the direction of Suzanne's helmet. The admission to Special Agent Harris was the first time Barry admitted to turning left on Highway 50 away from the Broomfield route. This accounts for the missing mileage from his return to trip home from the Broomfield Hotel. Barry's odometer registered a 183-mile trip to the hotel that morning, including about 2 miles of deviations and a 167-mile trip on the same route home for an approximate 14 extra miles. Special Agent Harris explained to Barry that sometimes questions shed light on things and helps investigators know where not to look for Suzanne as well. Special Agent Harris states there are things about his truck we are wondering and asks Barry when he left for Broomfield, did he turn right or left on Highway 50? Onto Highway 50. Barry said, quote, yeah, there was a herd of elk in the road and there was one bull, and he was a nice bull, and they all went up to the gully there where that old washed out road is, and they went up there. Okay, Barry said, quote, yeah, there was a herd of elk in the road, and there was one bull, and he was a nice bull, and they all went up the gully there where that old washed out road is, and they went up there, and I'm like, oh, I want to see how big this bull is. And I turned down there, and they crossed right in front of me, and then I went down to the Garfield turnaround and then went to Broomfield, end quote. Special Agent G asked what Garfield is. Barry said, quote, it's a little town before the little ski town. Special Agent G asked if it was before Monarch. Barry said, quote, yeah, I turned right around there. Special Agent G explained that agents have checked and hadn't seen Barry or others go past the Monarch camera. Barry said, quote, yeah, I didn't. I turned around there. I turned around. I went that way because I saw those elk. They were in the road right there before I got up to 50, and I let them cross. And then there was one bull in there, and man, and I just missed seeing how good he was. I'm a hunter, and I just wanted to see him, and I just turned that way to look at him. That's the only thing. And when I went to Broomfield, I told Joe and Derek everywhere I stopped, I had crap blowing out of the truck. I pull over at one spot, got my truck situated, went off, end quote. What a weirdo. um, yeah. Did I highlight that? No, and I don't mind if I say something shifty. I don't mind being called out at all, because maybe I didn't mean it that way, or maybe I need to be straightened out. So please, no hard feelings. And yeah, I get it though. Thank you. You're very kind. So yeah, because it's terrible when people are talking about children and they say young ladies. That's but I've caught myself doing that. I admit I have caught myself doing that. So this is just a road map. So I always love looking at the maps and seeing exactly how things are. And Barry's trip to Garfield adds an approximate 5 miles each way to his morning trip and places Barry and his vehicle in the direction the helmet was discarded, west from the bicycle. And there could be other things he discarded that they didn't find. I mean, they're so thorough, I would think that they found everything, but you never know. Especially because the helmet wasn't found for a few days. And then other things could have been picked up by other people or buried or whatever. March 5th, 2021, part 1. In this interview, Barry asked for immunity, asked not to get thrown in jail, said there was no evidence, demonstrated how he placed his phone in airplane mode, said Suzanne made him a monster, and things, quote, just blew up, end quote, and further explained the chipmunk and bull elk stories. Are you ready? This is going to be good. No, you are both fine. Anna Bees. Yeah, I know. And it's funny in texting, it's hard if there is a misunderstanding. Have you guys ever seen that Key and Peele? It's an episode that was like a sketch comedy thing, Key and Peele, and they're having a texting fight when texting was like a new thing and text fighting was a new thing. And one of them doesn't know that they're having a fight. Like he just thinks everything's cool. And the other one is like freaking out, like just the tone that they're reading things with. It is so funny. I'm going to try to find a link to that and put it in the description. That is hilarious. Key and Peele, if you know of it. So in this interview, Barry asked for immunity. At approximately 6:07 a.m., Special Agent G and Special Agent Harris contacted Barry Morphew at the DSI facility, 7625 West Highway 50, Salida, Colorado. Agents had an appointment with Barry from the previous day to meet at 6 a.m. at his residence. However, Barry left his residence at about 5:40. Oh my God. I'm gonna like roll around on the ground laughing for a minute. And the little puppy's rolling around on the ground too. Are you guys loving that? I mean, I probably should wrap up soon because I'm getting a little punch drunk all of a sudden. Oh my God, that is hilarious. I'm thinking this is so early. At approximately 6:07 a.m., Special Agent G and Special Agent Harris contacted Barry Morphew at the DSI facility. Agents had an appointment with Barry from the previous day to meet at 6 a.m. at his residence. However, Barry left his residence at about 5:40 a.m. and pulled into the DSI lot at approximately 6:05 a.m. He was probably shocked to see them pull up 2 minutes later. Or no, they contacted him. Okay, let's see. Barry stated, quote, "Yeah, I had a package at UPS I had to pick up. They closed at 6 and I had to get there at 6 to come back to the gym. I didn't lie to you," end quote. Oh, no, he didn't lie, but he is lying now. Come back to the gym. Oh my God, this guy is off the rails crazy. Looney Tunes, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's my official diagnosis. He is just plain knuckin' futz, like I said yesterday. Anna Bees, what was your diagnosis? You had a good one. Yours was more serious. He's so obvious. Oh, it's okay. I keep stepping away from my keyboard. I know Suzanne made him a monster. Yeah, totally. Yeah, let's call him Mr. Obvious. I'm going to start calling him Mr. Obvious instead of Barry. Oh my God, I'm just going to die laughing. And I'm going to cry from the sadness of what this poor woman had to go through. She gave her life to this man and he just destroyed her. And she had an affair. I mean, I'm not going to try to excuse that. But man, I'm glad she did. I'm glad she had some happiness before this happened and felt some independence. It was just obviously so hard for her to break away. She wanted the marriage to work out. She thought she could change him or something. Let's see. Okay. Special Agent G said agents were working a homicide case and desired to work with Barry and clear him if possible. Barry said, quote, that should have been done months ago, end quote. God, he's such an ass. Remember he tried to sue everybody? Do you guys remember that? He filed like a $50,000 lawsuit against all of these people. Hilarious. Like funny, not funny. Special Agent G said the FBI's job is to collect facts, review the warrants, and Barry was the main person to explain the facts. Barry was told his cooperation was voluntary, and if he chose not to help explain the facts in this case, that was his decision. Barry continued, but everybody's got eyes on me. They see me talking to you. There's people seeing me talk to you right now. There's cameras right now, and it's going to get out, end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that him talking to the FBI should appear normal to other people and help them calm down. Special Agent G told Barry that Barry's explanation of going to Garfield helped explain the missing 7 miles each way from his truck, something Joe did not know in July. Barry talked about how speaking with the CBI was bad for him, because what he told them got out in public. That's so funny. No, it's bad for him because what he tells them, they tell back to him, and then he hangs himself with it. That's why it's bad. He's right about that part. Um, Narcissistic, perverted bastard. Yeah, exactly. Yep. How can I highlight both of those simultaneously? Um, where was I about it being bad? I'm going to reread that sentence because it's so funny. Barry talked about how speaking with the CBI was bad for him because what he told them got out in public, as if. Special Agent G told Barry that he considers talking to agents as a bad thing. Barry was told what normally happens if a dad is missing a daughter or a husband is missing a wife is that they knock on the FBI door all the time. That's hilarious because I'm sure he didn't do it once. And so they're like telling him, like, we know, we got your number, baby. I want to believe, okay, quote, I want to believe you want to help find my wife, find out what happened, but the things you've told me has crushed me. It's crushed me. And I don't know. There's no way you guys can know how I feel. I went 9 months thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden you guys come to me and boom, my whole mindset is changed about this whole thing. I'm crushed. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I can't leave my daughter. You guys throw me in jail. I've got a 17-year-old that's on her own. You guys don't want that, end quote. Oh, and can you tell me the guy's name? I injected that, of course. But I was fully expecting that to be in there. Okay, I'm at the top of page 76 or 78 of 131, 76 of the 129. I got to show you this series of photos of Barry that they have in here because look at the one with his hands up. That's from probably the quote of what he just said. It's bad for me to talk to you guys because when I talk to you guys, it gets out. Like as if they don't have integrity with their keeping the integrity of their investigation, like they're going to spread rumors and stuff. You're so funny. No, he's so funny. I mean, funny, not funny. Barry later stated, quote, and I know there's no evidence on me because it doesn't exist, end quote. He added, quote, I'm telling you that, end quote. Special Agent G said things exist that are not explained, and Barry can help with those. Barry said, quote, you told me that if I explained them to you that you would clear me publicly, end quote. Special Agent G agreed. Barry added, quote, because that's what I need, because this whole world is freaking, they've trounced me, end quote. Always the victim. Trounced. That's a good word. That's a funny one. You don't hear that too often. Trounced. I should write that down because I'll be like, what was that funny word? Trounced. And I'm writing down Key and Peele so I don't forget to look for that hilarious skit if I find it on YouTube. They've trounced me, end quote. Special Agent G told Barry that talking to agents is not a bad thing. Barry stated, quote, it's not a bad thing for you, but if something happens and I say something wrong or I don't recall something that I told Joe this and I told you something else, boom, I'm done. I lied, end quote. Yeah, again, there he is confessing, telling the truth. He said, I'm done. I lied. Special Agent G told Barry that agents would tell him when his accounts to Joe differ from current statements. Barry said, quote, when I talked to Joe, I was frantic in my mind. I was out of my mind. Even being able to talk to him like I did blows my mind that I was able to do that because I was crushed and I just, end quote. I just got to interject here. Like I said, I'm getting punch drunk. Oh, and by the way, can you guys tell me that guy's name? I'm gonna start having to interject it every other sentence if I don't wrap up soon. Because yeah, I'm like past where I said I'd go, but I can't stop. I'm going to before I like bust up. Barry said, quote, and I gave you my gun. That's my chipmunk gun. They didn't even take it, end quote. Okay, I just got to stop right there. I got to stop with my chipmunk gun. Seriously. Like, because we've got to let that sink in. That's my chipmunk gun. Okay, I'm going to get the puppy. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here, little one. Come here, little hunk of poo-poo. Little blondie. She's the long-haired dog. Our other two dogs are short hairs. Yes, the long-haired baby. And when she's drinking, her little ears, they get wet. It's so cute. It's hilarious. Dare, say hi to everybody. It's so hard to like log off, but I can maybe read a little bit more after letting that chipmunk gun thing sink in. I think I will. I'll try to read a little bit more because I really want to try to get this done today. And unless I power through, it probably won't be until tomorrow. And I don't want to be up all night trying to finish it either. And I'm over halfway done, but I've probably got another like 6 hours to go, I'm going to guess. That's my chipmunk gun. Barry said, quote, and I gave you my gun. That's my chipmunk gun. They didn't even take it, end quote. Yes, the precious little puppy. Here. And she might just stay on my lap, and then we can have the best of both worlds. We can read and have the puppy love. Special Agent Grushing said the gun did not appear to have been fired in a long time. Barry said, quote, yeah, it has, end quote. He added, quote, I'm just telling you right now that if I was guilty, I wouldn't hand over weapons to you guys, end quote. Yeah, it has. He's so juvenile. Special Agent G said Barry's movements that afternoon to include the trunk door opening, him running from porch to porch, and Suzanne not answering texts from her lover looked different from investigators' perspectives. Barry stated, quote, I explained that. I mean, you can ask anybody that knows me. I've killed 85 chipmunks at my house. That's all I do. I mean, I can't sit still. I'm a worker. I'm a busy bee. That's what I was doing that day, end quote. I'm just mind blown. Like he's thinking this is how he's going to make himself look innocent. It's all I do is chase chipmunks around my house because I just can't not do that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Special Agent G asked Barry for permission to ask another question about the chipmunk thing, and Barry said, yeah. Special Agent G said from 2:44 p.m. to 2:47 p.m., Barry is going to the porches. Barry said, mm-hmm. Special Agent G said at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone went into airplane mode. Special Agent G asked Barry if he placed the phone in airplane mode. Barry asked, I don't know where was it on me or was it on the kitchen or what? End quote. Special Agent G said the phone movement was how agents knew Barry was moving around. Barry said, oh, because it was on me. End quote. Special Agent G said that in the past, Suzanne tried to track Barry's phone because she thought he was having an affair. And Barry said, mm-hmm. Special Agent G said Suzanne told her friends and lover about her tracking him. Barry stated, well, she's told me that. I mean, she's tracked me everywhere I went, end quote. Then Special Agent G said Barry may have been placing his phone in airplane mode to keep from being tracked. He said, no, I don't recall turning my phone on airplane mode. I do not recall that, end quote. Special Agent G further explained that Barry's phone went into airplane mode at 2:47 p.m. and came back out at 10:18 p.m., adding that maybe Barry did it on accident. Barry looked at his hand as if he was holding his cell phone and said, quote, yeah, it's the first thing that comes up when you hit settings, and it would if that happened. It was probably an accident, end quote. And now we've got, he added, quote, I mean, I do not recall that, end quote. So here is, I wonder if this is like still shots from body cams. So they've got an image of him pretending to be looking at his phone. That's this one. You can kind of see his fingers in the silhouette there. And then this one of him, if you can kind of see the expression on his face, he looks like the freak of the week. So this is the taken when he was supposed to meet them at his house at 6 a.m, but he left the house at 20 minutes to 6. And no, he wasn't lying to them. It was a lion. I know I'm not lying. It was a lion. Thank you so much for reading this for us. I'm so invested. Ha ha ha. And what's that guy's name? Ha ha ha. The puppy dog is Chi, and she's a girl. So, yeah, she's such a cutie. Let's see. Where was I? I am trying to wrap up, but I'm like almost on page 80. We're almost 3 hours. So let's just do a little bit more. We got this. This is hilarious. Okay. Special Agent G told Barry that his truck doors were opening and closing as it backed into the middle of the driveway. Barry said, this is what's so funny, quote, I had junk in my trunk. Badonkadunk, junk in the trunk. Okay. I had junk in my trunk, and I always have junk, and I'm always taking something out, leaving my door open. I mean, I don't know that's the case, but that's what I did, end quote. Special Agent G said the truck doors, to include passenger, were opening and closing until 9:52 p.m., that Barry must have been loading a lot in his truck. Barry said, to go get ready for Broomfield. Yeah, I was putting everything in my truck for Broomfield. I was cleaning off my workbench for just because it was a wreck, and I'm sure I was just loading for Broomfield, end quote. Special Agent Harris later explained the affair started because Suzanne needed someone to talk to. Barry asked, was it an old boyfriend? At least tell me that, end quote. And Special Agent G said he was not. But I think he was, actually. I think they might have hooked up at that party and had a one-night stand or something. I don't know. Anyway, when they were teenagers. At least tell me that. And Special Agent G said he was not. Barry asked, quote, they didn't know each other in high school, end quote. Special Agent G said Suzanne reached out to someone to talk to. So here is footnote number 63. Barry admits on April 22nd, 2021 to the FBI that the tranquilizer was on the workbench and that it likely got thrown away in Broomfield. Oh, and what's that guy's name? That pic. Yikes. I meant Barry saying that. Oh, I follow. I follow. That's hilarious. And by the way, what's that guy's name? Can you tell me his address at least? Just tell me where he lives. Just tell me which house he's in. I won't go hunt him down. I'm a hunter, but I won't go hunt him down. I wonder if Stefan Stearns took some of Barry's answers for his interview. Were they reading from the same playbook? For Firefly says, I bet he did. Man. Okay. This is crazy. Okay, so Special Agent G said Suzanne reached out to someone to talk to because Barry was working all the time. And Special Agent Harris said Barry was gone from Suzanne for 2 years in Indiana. Special Agent G said that for Suzanne, perception was reality. For instance, when Barry put a gun to his head, he was not physically abusing her, but she felt like he was. Barry said, mentally, emotionally, I know, she said that, end quote. Wow, he put a gun to his head. I kind of recall that, but I don't think it ever really sank in. Barry added, if I abused her in any way, it was emotionally, and I got angry at times, but it was just because she accused me of these things that just were not true, and I had no way to prove it to her. She had no evidence that I ever did anything with another woman, and I haven't, but couldn't prove that. I mean, you think 32 years of a lover, you could look them in the eyes and say, honey, I've never done that to you. And say, honey, I've never done that to you, end quote. And they would believe you, but she didn't. And I think she took the mindset with her alcohol and her pills, her depression and her cancer, all of this. And I think she made this monster in her head and it just blew up, end quote. So I think he might have just told on himself and it just blew up. Because, yeah, I think he shot her with the gun in the house after, when this is my theory, is that after he assaulted her, then he shot her to make sure that she wouldn't not be dead, because she could have passed away, I think, from the BAM. I think that there was enough in her bones that they think it could have been a fatal amount, but I think that there was a bullet hole too. I don't remember, and I actually read the autopsy real recently. But those things are hard to read. It's sort of like reading a textbook. It is like reading a textbook. It's exactly like reading a textbook. It's like reading French when you don't know French. He was a monster. I can't believe she was with him. So scary. Take a lie detector test. Barf. Or bar, it says, with an exclamation point. I always like, does that say Bart? Does that say barf? Just take a lie detector test, bar. He said he took trash out many times and his car was still full of trash. Exactly. 2 peas in a pod. I bet he did. Yeah. What are you chewing on, little girl? She's chewing on metal. She's chewing on wrought iron. What a nut. Okay. She's actually chewing on the table leg. That's wrought iron. Let's see. This is interesting. Here we go. Special Agent G asked Barry about accounting for mileage when he saw the bull elk, whether he climbed or how he turned around. Barry said, no, I just turned around, end quote. When asked where, Barry stated, quote, Garfield, probably the first place that I could turn left in. I didn't go in and then turn around. I just backed in and went straight to Broomfield, end quote. And then a couple more pictures of him. And he looks so scared, especially in the second one. It's kind of bad lighting. Yeah. This one, you can kind of see it even in the bad lighting, how he looks like he's shitting bricks. He really does. I'm sure he was. Probably had to change his pants. Let's see. Barry said, and I had no idea. Barry, let's see. Where was I? Yeah, went straight to Broomfield, end quote. Barry said, quote, and I had no idea, and I should have told that to Joe, end quote. Then Special Agent G interjected and said Joe did not know that back then. Barry said, quote, yeah, but I didn't keep it from him. It just didn't come in my head, end quote. Yeah, again, I forgot. Can't remember. Special Agent G told Barry he could not be a good dad for Redacted because of the stress. He replied, quote, and I'm not, and it's killing her. And I just want to put it behind. I just want to start new. I just want to start over. And I don't know how to. I loved or love Suzanne. He caught himself speaking in past tense. I hate what she did to me. That breaks my heart, but I can't live like this. I can't go on like this, end quote. Special Agent G said agents do not intend to investigate this infidelity, but Barry is the best source of information versus other people who do not know. Barry asked, quote, and what about immunity? Can you give me immunity if I sit and just open my life to you, end quote. Yeah, and what about that guy's name? Right? What she did to him, exactly, for Fireflies, exactly, spot on. Special Agent G asked immunity for what, and Barry replied, quote, I think in case somebody falsely convicts me or something. Special Agent said, quote, you won't be falsely convicted, end quote. That's so funny. No, you'll be convicted, but not falsely convicted. Barry was told, quote, if something bad happened, end quote, agents would argue to the DA that Suzanne had the affair and talked about antagonizing him starting May 5th. Barry asked, quote, she set an actual date, end quote. Barry was told it was that week. Barry asked, did she actually say to him that Barry asked, quote, did she actually say to him that she wanted to leave me and be with him, end quote. Special Agent G confirmed, and Barry replied, quote, she actually said that, end quote. He's going to keep asking that like a million times. Special Agent G said agents could show him the text that she wanted to start a new life with him. Barry said he had to get to work and asked agents to check on his rifle scopes and tax paperwork, whether they could be returned to him. That's kind of funny. Oh, okay, well, I got to go, right? So it starts here, March 5th, 2021, part 2. And should I read one last page? I think I'll read this one last page. And then I do got to wrap up. I got to like stretch and stuff. I don't have to pee like I did yesterday, but I do need to stretch my back. Okay, here we go. She made him do it, ladies. Yeah. She's so mean. March 5th, 2021, part 2. In this interview, Barry asserted that Suzanne's phone should have been found, that he had an intuition about her affair, that he could not recall what he threw away on May 10th, though he was shown photos, and that Suzanne was drunk when he came home Saturday afternoon. Special Agent G and Special Agent Harris met with Barry at his Tailwinds work site behind his condo in the afternoon of March 5th, 2021. When Barry is told that all of the people sent the Facebook requests said it didn't seem like it was Suzanne sending them, then agents wonder if Suzanne was doing this just to make him mad. Barry said Suzanne has, quote, never done that in her life, end quote. When asked if Suzanne told him she befriended these people, he said no, and then said, but I have her phone. She gave me full access to her phone. She gave me the passcode. Okay, I didn't do my quote thing. He said no, and then said, quote, but I have her phone. She gave me full access to her phone. She gave me the passcode. I mean, do you guys have her phone? Do you have her phone? End quote. That's funny. Oh, and can you tell me that guy's name? There's small little truths in the things he says. I know. So he has her phone. I mean, obviously. I think he destroyed it. He probably buried it. After smashing it with a sledgehammer. Drop some of those big boulders on it. Oh, come here, Chi. Come here, baby. When agents tell Barry they don't have her phone, he says, quote, nobody found her phone, end quote. And then, quote, I figured you guys had to have it, end quote. He then says, quote, see, that's really weird because I thought from day one you guys had the phone, end quote. When Barry was asked where he would look for the phone, knowing where the bike and helmet were, he said, quote, in between. That's funny. Yeah, I doubt he ditched her phone where somebody could find it. Barry talks about Suzanne's affair possibly getting out on social media, and if it does, quote, you know darn good and well that everybody is going to say, I mean, I don't know if you guys think it, end quote. Barry added, quote, but they're like, oh, Barry found out she had a boyfriend and killed her, end quote. There he goes again, telling on himself. He continued, I quote, I mean, that's the way, I mean, that's what people say. And I'm hoping you guys believe me that I didn't know that one bit until the day you guys came to my backyard, end quote. Agents talk about some things related to Suzanne's 7 trips and her behavior in Mexico that likely made Barry suspicious, like when he wanted to see her phone because he was not a fool. Barry said, quote, I have some intuition, but I would never think it was a physical thing, end quote. Barry was told that doesn't make him guilty of her disappearance. Barry does not protest. So a couple of footnotes. Number 64, FBI agents asked Barry about this statement on April 22nd, 2021. And he said he did not have Suzanne's phone or passcode, just her iCloud password. 65, Barry refuses to tell agents in subsequent interviews how long he suspected Suzanne was having an affair. This is crazy. Let me see. I'm at the top of page 80. And let me just read a couple of paragraphs and then take a break. All righty. If I can tear myself away. It is hard, isn't it? It's hilarious. Barry is reminded of the argument that was recorded on the pen and Suzanne saying it was about money and asked what that was about. Barry said it was Suzanne's grandmother's money and explained that Barry and Suzanne had borrowed $100,000 from Suzanne's dad, and that it caused family problems with Suzanne's brother. Barry said Suzanne wanted to pay it back with her grandmother's money, but Barry said he made a lot of money and he would pay it back. He probably did make a lot of money with these big contracts, but he was probably not managing his money, and she was the one doing the books, and she was probably like, oh crap. That's probably why she was doing the books, was to try to see where there could be a profit, because he was probably losing money on some of these accounts, even if they were like $250,000 projects. What do you want to bet at the end he would come up in the red? Barry was asked about his phone pinging down by the river during Facebook posts on Friday night and asked if he was outside. Barry said, quote, I could have been. I don't remember. I chased critters around the house all the time. There's a bear that got in the garage. He completely destroyed my garage, and I've been looking for him ever since he came in the garage. I wasn't going to shoot him, but I was just going to scare him off. And coyotes are always outside, end quote. I was going to say, I'm just going to talk to him. Just like with her lover. I don't want to scare him. I just want to talk to him. Barry was shown a map printout of Highway 50 near the Garfield area west of his Puma Path house and asked about where he turned around at Garfield when he left his house. He asks where his road is and is told that it is off the map. Barry said, quote, I can't tell you exactly where I turned around, but it was probably the first road or drive going onto Garfield, end quote. Oh, I'm sure they were probably in the red. Yeah. And that's probably why she was doing the books, because she probably was hoping to get things under control. She probably did some bookkeeping in her family business, I would bet, that she learned. And she was a teacher before they got married and had kids. Like after they got married, probably before they had kids. I want to say she taught like 5th or 6th grade math, but I could be wrong. But I think it's somewhere in there. It was either 5th or 6th grade or math or both or something. But yeah, her students loved her, of course. That was back in Indiana. Barry said the reason he was watching where the elk go is because he hunts sheds, and that while the bull didn't have its horns, it was a big bull, and he figured that Barry could get its pattern, then he could follow that pattern and find its horns. That sentence reads very odd. Let me try it again. Barry said the reason he was watching where the elk go is because he hunts sheds, and that while the bull didn't have its horns, it was a big bull, and he figured that Barry could get its pattern, and then he could follow that pattern and find its horns. Barry talks about the country road where the helmet was found and said he was pretty sure he went past that one because he was still looking at the herd. As Barry discussed watching the herd and its patterns and where he turned around, he was motioning several times back and forth with the pen from the road to the location of Garfield mine on the map. Yeah, there was stuff about the mines in this. That's fascinating. Barry was shown a photo of the RTD stop and asked about it. Barry said he pulled over there to GPS the job site. There was a trash can right there, and he just took stuff out of his truck. He is such a freaking nut. Barry said whatever he threw away was probably just sitting right there on his seat. Barry said he couldn't tell agents what it was, but it wasn't worth anything. Barry says it was just junk, probably wrappers and cans. Agents labeled this as trash run number 1. Wow. Yeah, probably wrappers to the BAM, right? To the tranquilizer. He probably just told on himself right there. Barry was shown a satellite image of the south side of hotel where his truck parked. Barry said he remembers why he was there. Oh, he remembers something. Weird. Barry said he was just waiting for someone to come out of the door and go in and get a free breakfast. Agents labeled this as trash run number 2. That's funny. He doesn't mind making himself look like a cheat, like, I mean, throwing things away in trash cans that you don't have access to save money, that's a criminal act. You can get charged. I don't know if you can get arrested for that, but you can definitely get a citation for that. Barry was shown photos from video surveillance pictured below of him carrying things, including boots, into the hotel. Barry said he doesn't even remember carrying the boots into the hotel. Then Barry said he remembered that he took them into the hotel to take the laces out. Oh, that's pretty smart, because laces would have the red stuff on them and DNA. Like, your laces pick up everything. So yeah, I'm sure he did take them in there to take the laces out. He probably didn't want to throw the boots away because they were probably like $400 boots. What do you want to bet? So he was going to try to just like soak them in bleach or something. Soaked in bleach. Barry said the boots had holes in them, but he wanted to save the laces. So he took them in to take the laces out. Barry was asked about the blue item he was holding. Again, probably the boots were new. There were no holes in them. He wanted to take the laces out to dispose, put them in the garbage on one of his trash runs and get new laces that didn't have any DNA trace evidence on them. Maybe, in my opinion. The blue item he was holding, and he said it looked like his swimsuit, and asked if they got it from his truck. Barry was asked by agents if he remembers what was in the garbage bag. Barry said it was probably his mail. Barry was asked about changing his shirts that day and said he did so because it was hot. Barry was shown photos from the video surveillance and asked about his McDonald's trash run. Barry said he was pushing it down because the trash was at the top and he was pushing it down so it would fit. Barry was asked what the small item was that he was throwing away, and he said he couldn't remember. Barry said he does this all the time, and it is just him. Barry said, quote, "I know it looks bad, and it probably looked bad to Joe, but there's nothing there," end quote. Agents labeled this as trash run number 3. That lady that spent the last 4 years with Barry spoke out, I guess. Yeah. She's probably afraid to speak out too much because even if he's locked up, he has agents intimidate people for him. So I doubt she's going to say too much. The one that we call Shoshana or something like that. So yeah, she was with him for 4 years. I guess she might have broken up with him a year ago, but she may or may not have been together with him before this tragedy. She says they got together after, but it seems like there's evidence that they got together before. But yeah, she probably was figuring out that he did it and has been scared to break away, that he would do it to her too. Maybe. Barry was shown a map of Men's Warehouse parking lot and told that he stopped there. Agents asked if he took things to the dumpster there. Barry said, "Not to my knowledge." Barry was asked if he took things to a trash can, and he replied, "I could have." Barry was told he was there for about 40 minutes and asked if he remembered what he was doing there. Barry said, "I think I was still cleaning my truck." Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was probably getting crap out of my truck, like I said, which I've done my whole entire life. Agents labeled this as trash run number 4. So that last quote, "I think I was still cleaning my truck." Yeah. I mean, like I said, I just, I was probably getting crap out of my truck, like I said, which I've done my whole entire life, end quote. He's so weird. Not a really smart guy. I do think he has a master's degree in the uh, landscape architecture from Purdue, but he does not sound very intelligent, in my opinion. Um, yeah, that lady, I don't know what to think of her. I mean, for all we know, she was working with the authorities the whole time. But that would be so risky. So risky. Okay, let's see. Barry was shown the photograph of the binder he is carrying into the hotel. Barry said it was papers related to the job so he could study and prepare for the job. Barry was asked about changing from a black to a gray shirt. Barry said it was because gray would reflect the sun. Barry said again that from what he has seen, Suzanne left and he wants to go to Mexico to find her, adding that Suzanne doesn't have to go through a border, and wondered if she had $70,000. Yeah, I've been wondering about the $70,000 that she allegedly had, like, stashed away for her departure. Special Agent G said if it wasn't Suzanne, the FBI would consider it. Barry said, quote, but she turned into a different person. She was working out. She was never this fit and this ballsy in her life, end quote. That's weird because I'm pretty sure she was fit her entire life. I mean, she had just gotten her personal trainer certification. So Barry said her mind was altered from drugs and alcohol, adding that substances alter people's minds and that he is positive Suzanne's mind was altered. Well, yeah, she was probably MK altered, right? Special Agent G asked if her mindset was altered Saturday afternoon when he came home, referencing Barry's statement of her drunk eyes in the photograph. Barry said, quote, I thought it was, but I thought this might be good because it might make for a better night if she's cut the edge off with something. So I wasn't going to, end quote. What a twisted mofo. Purdue is not a great school, is it? I thought it was. I thought Purdue was a top-notch school. I could be incorrect. That'd be funny if it wasn't. It'd be funny that I had thought all along that it was like this top-notch school if it isn't. I'll look into it. She doesn't look like an alcoholic or rug abuser. Oh, I know. He's making that crap up. He's just trying to paint her in a bad light so that he can just poo-poo her and say, yeah, she was just a mess. She was just a hot mess. That's all. Misadventure, right? Whatever happened to her, it was just her own misadventure. It was her accidental, natural, self-inflicted misadventure. Barry said, quote, I thought it was, but I thought this might be good. I read that part. That's gross. Okay. Special Agent G says Barry wasn't going to fight her on it. Barry said, quote, so I wasn't opposed to that day, and I surely wasn't going to bring it up. If I bring those things up, it just causes a fight. She'll start something, so I just let it go. End quote. Okay. I'm at the top of page 82 where it says March 10th, 2021, part 2. I am going to wrap up. Thank you so much for being here. All I know about it is online Christian classes. Yeah, I'll look into it because it would crack me up if it's not a good school and for what I would not know why I thought it was. I mean, I've known people who've gone to school there, and so maybe that's why I thought it was. Maybe they said that it was. But I would think it was a good school. I would think that I wouldn't have been duped by that. I mean, I would think that it's right up there with like Rutgers and MIT and stuff, but maybe I'm in left field. Okay, we're going to take a break. What time is it? It's almost 6 p.m. I'm going to try to come back on later. I don't know, 10 ish, let's say. Um, Take a bit of a break and then get back on. I don't know that I'll be able to finish it tonight, but I'm going to at least try to take another chunk out of it tonight. So thanks for being here, you guys. You girls have a fantastic evening. Yes, you too. We'll check it out, Anna Bees. We can both do a little bit of research and then concur the next time we are in our live chat. And I hope to see you later if you can make it. But if you can't, I totally understand. Got to go too. Thank you. Thank you. Love and light. Have a lovely evening. Hopefully, see you later. And drink your water, eat your protein, eat your veggies. Let's all get some fresh air and sunshine, at least some fresh air once the sun goes down and it's not so bloody hot. Thanks, you guys. Love you. See you in a minute or a few hours.